Piston fan. Their slogan was, we come to work. That's what Detroit about. That's why they used it. It's a team thing. They won 2 championships, a team. There was no star. No mayor can come in here and be a star. It's a team thing. No governors can come in here and think you can do it by yourself. It's a team thing. You got communities. They got ideas too. The only thing wrong with Detroit, people have lost hope here. Residents, city workers, so much corruption. They lose hope. But I grew up here. I love this city. I think it can come back. I've been working for the city 24 and a half years. Within the last 10 years, we took 4 pay cuts, and then an additional 10% wage cut. I've lost a home.
When you take all of the decisions out of the city of Detroit, all of us, then what do you have? Exactly what we got, a lot of problems. Every time the city seems to fall into a problem, it's always on the backs of us workers.
You wake up out of a dead sleep and you jump behind the wheel and take off driving and try to get everybody there safe, not knowing really what you're pulling up to. Not eligible for Social Security, so the pension is my sole salary at this point.
We've been in business here 39 years. We've seen a lot of changes in Detroit. The area was a lot of industry, a lot of city workers. It's getting very tough for the city workers. It's getting tough for us as a business people.
Response times are increasing because of the closing of companies, which takes your insurance rate through the roof. So all the things that affect us affect the citizens.
I worked for the city in different capacities for 29 years. I feel like an old jacket. They use me up and they throw me away. In my condition, nobody's gonna hire me. I'm 68 years old. Half the times, I can't get my blood pressure medicine. It's either feeding myself blood pressure or paying bills.
$754. By the time they take all the deductions for I have my car insurance, my house insurance, and my health insurance taken out. So the time they take all that, I'll get about $300 after they take all that out. I don't understand it. I can't see how the governor is allowing this to happen and what they're doing and they want to blame it all on the seniors. Not only the seniors, but the city workers. And we worked hard. I know I worked hard.
I've been in Detroit since 1946. I was 14 years old when I came in. I don't live large at all. I wish I could. I don't know when the last time I've been shopping. I only get $1,100 and I'm 81 years old and I need every penny that I can get and that I do get. And I'm very, very upset about the idea of them taking away my pensions that I worked 30 years for.
I think it's terrible that they talk about Detroit like they do, because Detroit has been very good to me.
I have a lot of city workers coming in with their uniforms on, Detroit Water Department, Police Department, Fire Department. I get a lot of people, the Border Patrol come in. So if I lose that customer base, I'm going to be in a position where I might have to close down. If they take away their pensions, if they start cutting jobs, it's going to cut into a large percentage of not only our business, but other businesses that are in the city of Detroit. We're here, we've been here for 26 years, we're still trying to do business in the city.
Detroiters are survivors. They tough, they adapt, but only can do so much when your politicians ahead of you and we're not on the same team. We're not gonna let Detroit be erased, bulldozed, or whatever. We're gonna fight to the bitter end. Detroit gonna survive.
All right, friends and neighbors, we'll get back to the news of the day in just a moment here. But first, I got a couple of questions for you. First one, are you enjoying Free Speech TV? Well, I know the answer to that one. If you weren't, you wouldn't keep watching. We appreciate that. Good to have you with us. And the second question is, since you enjoy Free Speech TV so much, have you done your share to keep us on the air? Have you made your pledge? If so, we thank you because so many of you have. But if not, let's get on it. Do it today. It is so important. Look, again, I don't have to tell you how special Free Speech TV is. I'm very, very proud to be part of it. Less than a year right now. But it's the only place you can find such great hosts, Tom Hartman, Stephanie Miller, Amy Goodman. I hope I'm one of them. And it's all content-free, no commercials, the only truly independent and progressive cable channel that is out there. You won't find it anywhere else. But the thing is, we depend on you. That's the only way we can stay on the air. We get no corporate money, no government money, no sponsor money, right? It is all from our viewers that keep us going. So we ask you to give us a call today, 877-378-8669, or you can go to freespeech.org and make your pledge. And as a little reward for making your pledge, if you can do us this $10 a month, $120, we'll send you a Bill Press Show mug. You can have your coffee with us every day, and a pound of coffee from Washington's favorite little coffee shop, which is right downstairs in our building. It's called Peregrine Coffee. If you can afford $20 a month, $240 pledge, you will get a very, very special treat from one of my favorite little businesses out in West Marin, California, West Marin County, from Cowgirl Creamery, a selection of their best cheeses. I think they're the best cheeses on the planet, and I've lived in Switzerland, so I know. Cowgirl Creamery for $240. For $360 or $30 a month, we'll send you the Cowgirl Creamery and a mug. And here's something very, very special. If you can do it and you can afford $1,000 for Free Speech TV, then make your way to Washington as a little special treat. I'll take you out to dinner with Carol, and we'll invite you and a guest in to watch the show the next morning here in our studio in downtown Washington, D.C. So those are just our ways of saying thank you ahead of time to you. Please do it. Please consider it today. And again, the number to call is 877-378-8669, or you can go to freespeech.org. We love bringing the show to you every morning, love being with you every day, and ask you to be with us by making your pledge as soon as you can and as generously as you can. Thank you so much.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Well, it's Wednesday, and Vladimir Putin hasn't seized any more countries yet. Hey, we're off to a good start. Good morning, everybody. It is Wednesday, March 19. How about it? Happy birthday if March 19 is your birthday. Good day if it's not. For all the rest of us. Hey, it's good to see you this morning. We welcome you to the Bill Press Show. We are in Washington, D.C., your nation's capital, booming out to you on your local progressive talk station with the news of the day, our commentary, our take on what it all means, and most importantly, your chance to sound off yourself. Get it off your chest early this morning. Give us a call at 866-55-PRESS and join the conversation here on the Bill Press Show, on your local progressive talk radio station, on Free Speech TV. If you got that satellite dish, put it on the DirecTV network. And if you prefer to look on your, watch us on your iPhone, your iPad, or your computer, or whatever, anywhere on the planet, just go to TawkrTV, TawkrTV, youtube.com/TawkrTV. We got it covered, whether it's happening here, around the country, around the globe. It's all part of our, big sweep of the news in the morning. Again, bring it to you, and you tell us what it means to you. We got the team here ready to go, help you, all here to serve you. Peter Ogburn and Lisa Murphy.
Hey.
Service
Good morning.
Is our number one product, right?
That's right.
Alicia Cruz there with the phones, and Cyprian Bolding has got us looking good on the video camera. And the big news of the day, of course, in Mega Millions. Here it is. The numbers. Get your tickets out, folks. All right. We know you all bought tickets.
How do we do?
Here are the
I didn't buy tickets.
Winning number.
I don't ever buy lottery.
What's going on with you?
I never buy lottery.
Yesterday you said you were not going to play the brackets.
I'm not going to play the brackets.
What have you done? Checked out of life here?
Well, I don't play the lottery. I think that the lottery, you have like the absolute worst chances of winning. So I play the odds. Like that is as luck games have it, right? The lottery is the worst percentage of. You have the least worst or the least
You're
chance
just
of winning.
a poor loser. That's all.
There
it is. The winning numbers again are 11, 19, 24, 33, 51, and 7. Is the magic number. That's the what would be the Powerball.
Okay,
here are
I see tickets in your hand.
Here are my 3 tickets, and
will we have a show today?
Well, he's here, so
the fact that I'm here.
If you had won, I know where you wouldn't be.
Yeah, I got a 6. That's close to a 7. Does that get you maybe?
I'll have to check the rules, but I don't think that gets you.
I don't want the 400 million. Maybe just $1 million for getting a 6, right? Is that the way it works? If you
I don't think that's how it works.
Close. Is it like horseshoes?
I don't think so. I'm sorry. Oh.
There it is.
There
all right,
go.
there go my
ceremonial.
There go my
ripping
Mega
of the
Man.
ticket.
I'm not the only one. Cyprian bought.
Cyprian played.
By the way, winning tickets sold in Maryland and Florida this time. Again, I bought my ticket here in the District of Columbia. Maryland is right next door.
It's close.
It's getting more. We're getting warmer.
6 instead of
Getting
7.
warmer.
DC instead of Maryland.
And how about this guy? This guy up in Philadelphia we heard from this morning. He like me, dollar in a dream.
I go over to help the vets.
Okay.
There's a lot of vets that need help in America, especially in Philadelphia, because I used to work at the VA hospital.
There it is. He was going to use his money to help the vets, right? I hadn't decided how I was going to spend my money yet, but there it is. Anyhow, so, all right.
There you go.
Next time.
Get rid of them.
When's the next one, Cyprian? I don't know. Powerball
tomorrow.
Oh, I'm out of money, man. I blew my
That's
$3.
a lot of tickets there. So.
Just 3. I think that's about right. $3.
I think so. Yeah, sure. Go for it.
David Jackson from the White House for USA Today will be joining us a little bit later in this hour. Reporters in from Politico and Huffington Post today, and Jennifer Duffy, the Senate, the woman who follows all the Senate races in the country for the Cook Report, Cook Political Report. Charlie Cook will be here in studio with us to run down the Senate races. Can't wait for that. Lots coming up today. And how about the politics of envy. The rich people say we're picking on them. But first,
this is the Full Court Press.
Just a couple of other stories making news. Europe is waging war with America.
Europe?
No, not exactly.
I know Russia is, but
Italy wants to take the word Parmesan away from Kraft Foods.
Oh.
Kraft Foods has canned what they call Parmesan, and a lot of the bottles don't even say Parmesan cheese anymore because it's just Parmesan product. Italy has been fighting this war for a long time. They originally won the war to get the term Parmesan cheese taken away. They want Parmesan taken away altogether. One official from Italy said, "What you sell as Parmesan is really nothing more than spider eggs and salt."
Well, and whatever they do to Kraft food is fine with me because that's not real food.
It's not real. It's not. It's certainly not real cheese. Similar wars have been waged over the term champagne. Sparkling, bubbling wine can be called sparkling, bubbling wine, but only certain things can be called champagne. So it's war. It's war.
They can have their Velveeta.
Yeah, exactly. You mentioned Russia. Here's one thing that sort of divided some of the scientific or the geographical community, I should say. What do you now do with Crimea on maps? Now that Russia has annexed Crimea, is it part of Russia? Where does it stand? National Geographic has taken the first stand. They are going to show Crimea as part of Russia on all of their maps, on their website and maps that they have in their magazine. It's no longer going to be anything other than just a part of Russia. But it's divided a lot of the community as to what you do with it.
Look, like it or not, today, not yesterday, today it's part of Russia.
Yeah.
Don't know how long it will be, but I think a long time.
Yeah. And the Oxford English Dictionary added 900 new words, phrases to its March 2014 update. Just a couple of entries. Bestie is now on there.
Bestie?
Bestie.
Oh, no.
Like a best friend. This is my bestie.
Okay.
Wackadoodle is now on the Oxford English Dictionary. Beatboxer is now on there. Someone who makes like a beatbox rap. Bookaholic is also on there. And DIYer. Someone who insists on doing everything themselves instead of calling a handyman or
DIYer?
DIY. Do-it-yourselfer. DIYer.
Oh, DIYer.
DIYer.
Good Lord.
There's also a couple of phrases that were added that I cannot say on the air, and frankly, I'm pretty excited about it.
Just offensive to the English language.
Yeah.
But selfie is already in the dictionary.
Selfie's already on there.
Yeah.
Selfie's already on there.
Okay.
Yes,
thanks to Anthony Weiner.
That's right.
Yeah, that one. He's the one that put that in the dictionary. I don't know whether I had a chance. I don't know whether you saw, but I had a chance to do the Reverend Al show last night, Politics Nation on MSNBC, which I always enjoy doing. And we got a topic that really, really I found just offensive as hell. It's all about the politics of envy and the politics of jealousy. Okay, so, and it was prompted by an article in Politico a couple of days ago, saying here's in a nutshell what the article claims, that because Democrats lost that special election with Alex Sink down in Florida, this means that any talk about income, that the Democrats' entire message for 2014, not just Obamacare, the entire message for 2014 is wrong and is a loser. And particularly, we have to stop talking about income inequality because this pisses rich people off. And they give us an example. Ken Langone, who is a big Republican and one of the founders of Home Depot. Remember not so long ago, there was a guy out, a very rich investor, another big Republican, Tom Perkins, who founded one of the big venture capital firms out there, who said that for President Obama to talking about having the wealthy pay a little more in taxes was the equivalent of Kristallnacht in Nazi Germany. I got a lot of flap for that, but he didn't back off it. Well, Langone has said basically the same thing. Langone came out and said that to talk about income inequality is exactly what Hitler did. It's just the same thing. Here's Langone says. If you go back to 1933 with different words, and he talked about income inequality, he says, quote, "This is what Hitler was saying in Germany. You don't survive as a society if you encourage and thrive on envy or jealousy." So suddenly all these Republicans are coming out and saying, these plutocrats, right? Oh, my God. Any talk about income inequality is an attack on us. Raising the minimum wage is an attack on us. Extending unemployment benefits is an attack on us. And some Democrats are buying into this. Larry Summers, remember, President Obama was thinking about making him chair of the Fed. Oh my God! First of all, it was a mistake bringing him into the administration in the first place. Larry Summers even says, reducing inequality is good, but it's 50 times better to do it by lifting those up and not who are low, and not tearing down those who are high. Who's tearing down people who are high? Larry Summers goes on, the politics of envy are the wrong politics in America. Yeah, so we're supposed to now feel sorry for these plutocrats. And of course, crazy Michelle Bachmann gets into it. She's talking to Lars Larson last week on his radio show. And she's saying, again, we are picking on these poor billionaires like the Koch brothers. And here she is saying, at least we have a couple of billionaires on our side.
I just thank God that there's a billionaire or two on our side. All the billionaires seem to be on the radical left, so I'm glad that we've got a couple on ours. I hope we get a few more that are willing to come out. But realize also, this is an intimidation movement. I'm sure that the donors on our side don't like to have their names vilified. Nope. And just remember, that's really what this is about. Intimidating people from giving money to our cause. That's it. And there's something called the RICO statute, the racketeering law, that should be applied against them for doing that.
I mean, as always with Michelle Bachmann, there's so much wrong with what she says, it's hard to know where to start, right? But what is this intimidation factor? I mean, the Koch brothers spent $400 million last year supporting Republican candidates and opposing President Obama. How are they intimidated at all? I mean, they're free to do whatever they want. They'll spend another $400 million this year. They're already out there running ads against Democratic candidates. Who's intimidating them? I mean, where'd she get this stuff? But the other thing is, all the billionaires are on the radical left. Where are they? Where the hell are they? I want to know, right? I've been looking for one. I wrote a book about it, right? Toxic Talk, saying we need the billionaires on the left or the millionaires on the left to get up and buy radio stations and buy and support progressive radio. They're not. Where are they? Yeah, they keep talking about George Soros. I mean, George Soros, I've never met him. He's a good guy, puts a lot of money out there for good causes. But, I mean, he's hardly as wealthy as or spends as much money. He spends nothing, chump change, compared to what the Koch brothers spend. And this Ken Langone, and this Tom Perkins, and this guy who bought North Carolina. I forget that guy's name down there, who's just focusing all of his money on North Carolina. And you go on and on and on and on. Look at the oligarchy. It's in the Republican Party. And they're spending their money for all these super PACs. Look at all the money that Karl Rove was able to raise from them. So, I mean, it's just crazy. But what really gets me is this idea that to talk about income equality equals politics of envy or politics of jealousy. No, it doesn't. We don't want to take anything from the 1%. They're doing just fine. The 1% have a greater share of the income and wealth of this country than ever before. So all we're saying is, let's give the 99% a shot, right? Let's give everybody a fair share, a fair shake, and equal opportunity to do well in this country. And lift those people up, and that's not an attack. It's not an attack in any way on the top 1%. And by the way, if income inequality is talking about it is so bad, if talking about income inequality means that basically you are bringing back Hitler and Nazi Germany, to use that odious comparison again, what about the Pope? So is he a Nazi or a communist or what is he, right? Because nobody talks about income inequality more than the Pope. And again, that's not an attack on the rich. It's just saying there are a lot of people out there who still don't have aren't getting their fair share, aren't getting a fair shake, don't have a fair opportunity. Politics of jealousy, politics of envy. I think it is total nonsense. How about you? All we're talking about is the politics of equal opportunity in economic opportunity, economic justice in this country. 866-55-PRESS. Let's talk about it here on this Wednesday morning.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey friends, we'll be back to the news and your commentary and your comments in just a moment. But first, let me just be very, very straight with you. We need your help. You know what Free Speech TV is all about? We're very, very lucky and very proud to be part of it. But it's the only place that you can find completely independent, unfettered, no restrictions, news and commentary from the left all day long, with no corporate money, no commercials, no government money. But without all of that, we depend on you. And we ask for your help and need your help this time of the year. By the way, it's a good time to make a contribution because you can take it off on your taxes. Don't forget that. We know you love free speech. If you didn't, you wouldn't be watching. But again, we can only stay on the air. The only source of funding we have is your help. So many of you have helped already. We thank you for that. And for those of you who haven't yet, you intend to do so, you just didn't get around to it, do it today. Call that number, 877-378-8669, 877-378-8669, or go to freespeech.org, freespeech.org, and make whatever pledge you can. Now, I hope you do it out of the goodness of your heart, but maybe just as a little extra incentive, we'll offer you a couple of special premiums. If you can pledge just $10 a month, $120 a year, we'll give you a Bill Press Show mug and a pound of coffee from our favorite coffee shop, Peregrine, right down on the street level in this building. For $20 a month, $240 a year, very, very special. The best cheese in the world, take it from me, made out in Point Reyes Station, California, from Cowgirl Creamery. They're wonderful, wonderful people. Send you a Cowgirl Creamery a special item. And for $360 a year or $30 a month, you'll get the mug and the Cowgirl Creamery. Now, here's something very, very special. Those of you who can, make a very special pledge of $1,000 to Free Speech TV. You get your way to Washington. I've got a deal for you. Carol and I will take you and a guest out to dinner and then invite you here into the studio the next morning to watch the show with all of us. So whatever pushes your button, please be as generous as you can. And again, do it today at that number, 877-378-8669. Take advantage of that tax opportunity to get your tax contribution. And most importantly, to show your support and show your help for Free Speech TV. We are there with you and for you every single day of the week. We need you to be there for us this one special time of the year. Thanks for your help.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, 26 minutes after the hour here, Wednesday morning. So the real question, I guess, is, and the thrust of this Politico article we've been talking about is, do Democrats have the whole message wrong for 2014 because of what happened in Florida? And do we have to stop talking about minimum wage? Stop talking about unemployment insurance? Stop talking about income inequality? That's what this Politico article asserts. And they point out that what Bill de Blasio is doing and has been saying is totally wrong. What Elizabeth Warren has been talking about, totally wrong. What President Obama has been talking about, totally wrong. What the Pope has been talking about, totally wrong. I don't think so. I think what happened in Florida is pretty clear. What happened in Florida, the same thing that happened, and this is a warning for Democrats, it's the same thing that happened in 2010. Democrats did not turn out the vote. 50,000 fewer Democrats voted in that special election in Florida than voted in 2012. Democrats have to learn. You cannot stay home during the midterm elections or you're going to lose. Exactly what happened. Doesn't mean you can't talk about income inequality. I don't know where they get this. Kevin is up in Stratford, Connecticut. Hello, Kevin. Good morning.
Good morning, Bill. How you doing?
I'm good. Thanks. What's up?
Well, I tend to think it's not envy, and envy would be as if you have a Chevy and your neighbor just got a Mercedes Benz. That's envy. But envy isn't, gee, I need to put food on the table, and envy isn't, gee, I can't make my bills, or things like that. And I don't understand how the right cannot want to raise the minimum wage, but doesn't want people on food stamps and doesn't want people getting affordable health care. If you raise their income, there's less food stamps.
Exactly. You know what else, Kevin? I was thinking about this yesterday when I was listening to this idiot Ken Langone from Home Depot. If there's more money, if people are making better than a minimum wage, making a living wage, right? If they get that unemployment, they're going to go out and spend that money. They're going to spend a lot of the money at Home Depot. I mean, it's in his self-interest to see people lifted out of poverty. Don't they get it?
This
Income inequality
is the
really
Bill
bad
Press
to
Show.
talk about? Hey, friends, just a little break here and time out to tell you about something very, very important. It's that time again when we turn to you and ask for your help because we wouldn't be here without you. You know, it's so funny. Everywhere I go, people always say, man, you got 3 hours to fill every morning. How do you do it? How do you keep up with all of it? Well, let me tell you, we work hard at it. I mean, we start at the end of every show. The first thing we do, we just sit right down and start planning the next day's show and get a rough outline kind of where we want to go and what guests we might want to have and what we think the big issues are going to be. And then we go out and all day long, we're watching the news, reading the news, looking at the websites, following everything. I'm down at the White House every day at the briefings and keeping on top of things down there. And then we, meantime, Peter and Elisa particularly are on the phone, booking our guests for the next day. We reconvene in a conference call at 5 o'clock every afternoon and find out what guests we've got and where we think we're going to go the next day in terms of issues and things we want to talk about. We're also watching that evening, and then the next morning before every show, we reconvene again and sit down and put it finally together. And then we're on the air. So, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, but we love doing it, and we couldn't do it without you. That's the important thing, because Free Speech TV, no corporate money, no government money. It is all viewer contributions. We work only for you and depend on you and ask you to help us once again as generously as you can. And there's a little incentive to do so. You can go to freespeech.org, make your contribution, freespeech.org. If you can give us $120, that's $10 a month, we will send you a mug, a Bill Press mug, and a pound of coffee from Peregrine Coffee, our favorite coffee shop downstairs in this building, for $240 or $20 a month. From Cowgirl Creamery, the best cheese in the world, believe me, made in California, close to our home in California. A special package from Cowgirl Creamery for $360 or $30 a month. You'll get the Cowgirl Creamery selection and a Bill Press mug as well. And a very special treat for those who are able to do so and willing to pledge $1,000 of Free Speech TV. You make your way to Washington anytime with a guest. I will take you and your guest out to dinner, some fabulous restaurant in Washington, and invite you in to watch the show the next morning. So I know you're part of the free speech community, or else you wouldn't be watching this morning. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your help in the past. And now please ask you to dig in again. You know how important it is. I know how much you depend on the independent expression of progressive opinion you only get on Free Speech TV. Now's the time to help again, and thank you.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Minutes after the hour now, here on a Wednesday morning, March 19. We're talking about this wacko article that appeared in Politico, which makes us, I think, this outrageous leap from, it's sort of hard to follow the logic, if there is any logic to it at all, from the loss of that special election, congressional election in Florida, where Alex Sink lost to lobbyist David Jolly. Democrats should not have lost that seat. They did so, in my opinion. First of all, because it's fairly Republican-leaning district and has been for a long time, but mainly because they failed to turn out, Democrats failed to turn out the vote. But Politico and some others are saying, no, this proves that everything Democrats have been saying about Obamacare, number one, and particularly about income inequality is wrong. And we can't talk about it anymore. Bill de Blasio is wrong. Elizabeth Warren's wrong. President Obama is wrong. Pope Francis is wrong. Can't talk about raising the minimum wage anymore. Can't talk about extending unemployment insurance because that is an attack on the rich. And that is what they're calling the politics of envy or the politics of jealousy. And I just ask you, how is it that just saying that if you work, as the president puts it, if you work a full-time job, 40 hours a week in this country, you should not be living in poverty. Now, so therefore we ought to raise the minimum wage. How is that an attack on the rich? Come on. It's not. 866-55-PRESS. Claudia in Aurora, Colorado. Hey, Claudia, good morning.
Good morning, Bill. How are you doing?
Good. What's up?
Well, my feeling is this. What a bunch of whiners.
Yes.
The oligarchs of the past didn't stand around. The Fords and the Gettys and the Rockefellers, they built things in their communities. Libraries. And
Carnegie. Look at the Carnegie libraries across this country.
Yeah,
right.
There's infrastructure that needs to be fixed. Put your name on a damn bridge.
That's great. That's a great point, Claudia. And by the way, I mentioned this last night. So here's this Ken Langone, this big whiner from Home Depot, right? Saul Price was one of my best friends. Saul Price is the man who founded the Price Clubs, which is now Costco. If you looked at the history of philanthropy in California, you would not find a more generous donor than Saul Price. What did he do with this money? Right? He gave it away. How about Warren Buffett? How about Bill Gates? They've got this billionaires club where they're trying to get people to agree to give away a certain share of their income to good causes like this, as Claudia says. Yeah, put your name on a bridge. Put your name on a library, right? Put your name on a public school or something. But stop freaking whining. I mean, they're billionaires, and they're whining about the fact. And again, this is not like President Obama's not raising taxes on them. We're just talking about not taking away from them, but helping those who are not even close. I mean, they're not even close to being in that realm, and they'll never be in that realm. All they want, again, is a fair shake and a fair opportunity. Bobby is in Rochelle, Georgia. Hey, Bobby, what do you say? Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, what's up?
We need to get all the Democrats need to get out and vote. They need to vote for the Senate and for the representatives and vote for Bernie.
Bernie Sanders. Bernie, a shout out for Bernie, right? We got it. We're going to be talking more about Bernie Sanders. But you got, absolutely. I mean, voter turnout is so important. Didn't we learn that in 2010? Look what happened in 2010. Democrats sat on their butts, stayed home, didn't get out to vote in those midterm elections. John Boehner and Republicans took over the House of Representatives, and we haven't gotten one damn thing accomplished since. It's just been all-out war on President Obama and his agenda. So, man, what happened in Florida, I would hope that would turn out to be a blessing in this sense, that Democrats would say, whoa, we'd better get our stuff together. In Chico, California. Hello, Mark. Good morning.
Hey, I'm not stoned this morning, by the way.
That's because you're not in Colorado.
That's a good start, I think. if you're not stoned this early in the morning in California.
Right.
I don't get stoned till nighttime.
Oh, okay.
Hey, Bill,
Yes.
this is just insane that these billionaires think that they're crying because we're picking on them. Are these people just insane?
Well, they're greedy, I think, is maybe the better word. And insane too. and greedy. And they're paranoid too, right? They think of just giving anybody else a fair chance is an attack on them. I mean, come on. What do they want, right?
Yeah. Have a great day.
All right, you too. I think Mark. I know where
sound stoned, Mark.
I know.
Yeah.
I know where Mark is heading, right?
Yeah.
But seriously, for the last 40 years, if you look at it, the wealth of the top 1% has increased exponentially, while the relative wealth of the poor and the middle class has been stagnant at best. And today, the top 1% own a greater share of the wealth of this country than ever before. And it just keeps getting better and better and better for them. That's the problem, and that's what the president's been talking about. That's what the Pope has been talking about, is you can't expect any of that to trickle down. We've got to have some policies that put people to work. give people a chance to get a job and to get a paycheck and to get fully and adequately compensated for that work that they're doing. That's what it's all about. It's a politics, I think we should call it the politics of opportunity. It's not the politics of envy. It's not the politics of jealousy. And it really offends me when you see a Democrat like a Larry Summers coming in and saying, oh, we can't be playing the politics of envy. Who's playing the politics of envy? It's just outrageous. So talked about that last night with Reverend Sharpton on Politics Nation. When we come back, we'll be talking with David Jackson from USA Today on the latest. A lot going on down at the White House this week, a busy week for the president, and a rocky time for the president with President Putin from Russia officially seizing Crimea yesterday. What the hell do we do next? Maybe David Jackson's got the answer at the White House. We'll be right back here on this Wednesday morning, March 19th.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey friends, we'll be back to the news and your commentary and your comments in just a moment. But first, let me just be very, very straight with you. We need your help. You know what Free Speech TV is all about? We're very, very lucky and very proud to be part of it. But it's the only place that you can find completely independent, unfettered, no restrictions, news and commentary from the left all day long, with no corporate money, no commercials, no government money. But without all of that, we depend on you. And we ask for your help and need your help this time of the year. By the way, it's a good time to make a contribution because you can take it off on your taxes. Don't forget that. We know you love free speech. If you didn't, you wouldn't be watching. But again, we can only stay on the air. The only source of funding we have is your help. So many of you have helped already. We thank you for that. And for those of you who haven't yet, you intend to do so, you just didn't get around to it, do it today. Call that number, 877-378-8669, 877-378-8669, or go to freespeech.org, freespeech.org, and make whatever pledge you can. Now, I hope you do it out of the goodness of your heart, but maybe just as a little extra incentive, we'll offer you a couple of special premiums. If you can pledge just $10 a month, $120 a year, we'll give you a Bill Press Show mug and a pound of coffee from our favorite coffee shop, Peregrine, right down on the street level in this building. For $20 a month, $240 a year, very, very special. The best cheese in the world, take it from me, made out in Point Reyes Station, California, from Cowgirl Creamery. They're wonderful, wonderful people. Send you a Cowgirl Creamery a special item. And for $360 a year or $30 a month, you'll get the mug and the Cowgirl Creamery. Now, here's something very, very special. Those of you who can make a very special pledge of $1,000 to Free Speech TV, you get your way to Washington. I've got a deal for you. Carol and I will take you and a guest out to dinner and then invite you here into the studio the next morning to watch the show with all of us. So whatever pushes your button, please be as generous as you can. And again, do it today at that number, 877-378-8669. Take advantage of that tax opportunity to get your tax contribution. And most importantly, to show your support and show your help for Free Speech TV. We are there with you and for you every single day of the week. We need you to be there for us this one special time of the year. Thanks for your help. March 19, a very moving ceremony yesterday in the East Room of the White House. One of the rare up moments for the president, perhaps, this week in a rough week, particularly on the foreign policy front. David Jackson in the forefront of the coverage down at the White House for USA Today, joining us again on our news line this morning. Hello, David.
Hello, Bill. How are you?
I'm doing well. So that was a 24 people honored yesterday at that Medal of Honor ceremony, and the president seemed, I thought, generally moved by it.
Oh, it was hard not to be with honoring people basically who should have had the Medal of Honor years and years ago, but were passed over because of their race or their religion. So, and it's a culmination of an effort by some fellow. I can't recall his name right now, I'm afraid, but he's been working at this for decades, talking to Congress about how this thing happened. That finally got Congress to pass an investigation, which itself took about a decade, and now it's come to fruition. And these guys who should have been honored many, many years ago have finally gotten their just recognition. And
I thought the president said, well, we're not a perfect if we can find that, at least that very first one of the president, where he acknowledged that we should have done this before, but we're catching up. Here's the president yesterday.
No nation is perfect, but here in America we confront our imperfections and face a sometimes painful past, including the truth that some of these soldiers fought and died for a country that did not always see them as equal.
So, as one of the recipients yesterday said, better late than never, David, I guess.
Exactly. Of course, it was too late for some of them. And 10 of them, I think the president said 10 of them died in actual battle, and one of them is missing in action. So not all of them made it back, but several people have died in years since their wars, but now they've gotten their just due.
Well, I'm sure the president was happy to spend some time on that and less time on Putin and Crimea, huh?
Hey, who wouldn't?
Oh, right.
Although he did talk to Angela Merkel about Putin yesterday, and she's kind of a key player in this, so he's very involved, obviously.
Yeah, he has been, and they keep ratcheting the screws. Why do you think that of all the people, when they've named the people and put sanctions against people who are responsible for the breakup of Crimea from Ukraine, they have not named Vladimir Putin?
I think, Bill, if you talk to them, they tell you it's never been done. I mean, no world leader has actually been punished in this way. It would be an unprecedented step, and I think you want to really think 2 or 3 times before you do that. That would really be something. That would be historic. So I think they really want to be careful before they do that. And I think a lot of U.S. allies don't want to do that because they get a lot of their energy supplies from Russia, so they don't want to tick him off to the point where it'll cause an energy crisis in Europe.
Do you get the feeling, as I do, that this is irreversible now?
In Crimea, it's going to be very difficult to get the Russians out of Crimea. The military analysts have looked at what Russia's done in terms of how they quote invaded end quote Crimea. It's a very sophisticated operation, and what that tells me is this has been planned for a long time, and now that they've accomplished their goal, I think it's going to be very hard to reverse it.
So will there be additional steps, like one thing that we talked about yesterday at the briefing, maybe making the G8 now officially the G7 and telling Putin he's no longer invited?
I certainly think that the G8 meeting that was scheduled for Sochi in June is going to be off. Next week, the other countries, the G7 minus Russia, all the leaders will be talking next week on the sidelines of a nuclear summit in the Netherlands, and I think that they'll announce then that they're not going to be going to Russia in June, and they may announce that they're having their own meeting. As to whether they specifically boot Russia out of the organization, I don't know.
Well, I guess the White House, what do you hear? They have to make a decision, right? Whether they continue to pursue this and continue to apply sanctions and continue to try to reverse it, or just accept the fact somehow with a little, I don't know what face-saving device and move on. Huh?
I think they're just going to let time take its toll. I think you'll see more additional sanctions on individuals within the Russian government and the Crimea government, if you can call it that. I think you'll see more names added to the list. I guess I suspect some people in the United States want to add Putin to that list, but like I say, some of the allies don't want to do that. The problem is, like I say, it's very hard to get very tough sanctions against Russia because some of the European nations don't want to go along, and then you'll also have objections probably from China. So, Obama's options are limited, and like you say, I think they may well be looking for a face-saving device at some point, or just hope that the issue kind of goes into remission.
Talking with David Jackson, White House correspondent for USA Today. Now, speaking, David, of it's usatoday.com, of course, speaking of things where the president has absolutely very limited, if any options at all, And then we move on to Flight 370, which everybody keeps asking about their briefing. But what the hell can they do, right?
Nothing. Well, it's interesting, Bill. Someone reminded me the other day the president's going to Asia at the end of April, and one of his stops is in Malaysia.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's kind of a tricky deal. I don't know if they're rethinking that or not. But, remember, he was supposed to go to Malaysia, I think it was last year, but that was the part of the trip that got put off because of the government shutdown.
Right.
Well, it's back on for late April, so that's...
Well, I just hope he's not flying Malaysian Airlines.
Yeah, wow.
No. Air Force, we don't have to worry about that. But I think there is some concern. It's just going to be a media frenzy when he goes to Malaysia in late April, and I think that's something they're starting to think about.
Yeah. Now, meantime, he's got this. This is a pretty important trip next week too, with some a very high-profile stops. Right? I mean, you mentioned that they start off in The Hague with this nuclear conference, right?
Right.
But then moving on, what else is? I know Rome.
It started out as kind of a snoozer of a trip, but it's turning into something very interesting.
Yeah.
He first stops in The Hague for a pre-scheduled nuclear security summit. And that's on the sidelines there. That's where the G7 is going to meet and probably cancel the Russia visit.
Right.
He goes on to Brussels, where he talks to the European Union, and they'll be talking about more sanctions on Russia. He'll be trying to get the Europeans to be a little bit tougher on the Russians,
right,
in terms of economic sanctions. And then something he's wanted to do for quite some time. He's going to go to Rome and then to the Vatican to talk to Pope Francis. This is a meeting President Obama really wanted and really sought out because of some of the things Francis said about serving the poor.
And about income inequality.
Exactly.
And, they're soul brothers on that issue.
Right. And one of the things that may be announced, I think the Pope may be coming to the United States later this year to visit the White House and perhaps address Congress. So there may be an announcement about that during the Rome visit next week. And then the president wraps up in Saudi Arabia, which is, of course, a key player in the Middle East negotiations. And there's a lot of issues at stake in Saudi Arabia, not just the Israelis and the Palestinians, but the Syria and Iran situations as well.
Now, while most of us were dealing with a snowstorm on Monday, the president welcomed Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas to the White House. Did anything come out of that meeting?
There was never a readout of that meeting, which intrigued us.
That's what I was asking. I didn't see anything.
Even in the past, I think the last time the Palestinians were here, they waited a day before they given the readout. They've been very hinky about that. Apparently, we can only assume that it didn't go all that well because we haven't heard boo about it. But I don't think there's a lot of hope that the Israelis and Palestinians are going to sign on to this framework by the end of April, the way Secretary Kerry wants them to. But I do think that they'll agree to keep talking because no one wants to pull the plug on the process and be identified as the bad guy. So I suspect that these talks, if you will go limping along, but I'm not sure how much progress is going to be made under the current political circumstances.
Finally, I've got to ask you, you've been around there a long time. Did you ever hear before this phrase, well, we're recalibrating his appointment on the Surgeon General? When I asked that question the other day?
Yes, the Surgeon General. Yeah, that was an interesting thing. Recalibrating. Yeah. Well, I guess that means they're going to try to talk to more senators into signing off. But I think they've got too high a mountain to climb. I think, don't they?
It looks like it to me. Yeah. I think if I were that Dr. Methy or whatever his name is, I'd be thinking about getting a different job. I wouldn't be counting on that one.
No, I suspect that's another nomination's going to fade away eventually. I don't know how they're going to save face on that one either.
All right. Well, Dave, we'll see you a little bit later. Thank you for starting off the day with us, as always, this morning. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Bill.
All right. David Jackson, White House correspondent for USA Today, usatoday.com.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Just a little break here and time out to tell you about something very, very important. It's that time again when we turn to you and ask for your help because we wouldn't be here without you. You know, it's so funny. Everywhere I go, people always say, man, you got 3 hours to fill every morning. How do you do it? How do you keep up with all of it? Well, let me tell you, we work hard at it. I mean, we start at the end of every show. The first thing we do, we just sit right down and start planning the next day's show and get a rough outline kind of where we want to go and what guests we might want to have and what we think the big issues are going to be. And then we go out and all day long, we're watching the news, reading the news, looking at the websites, following everything. I'm down at the White House every day at the briefings and keeping on top of things down there. And then we, meantime, Peter and Elisa particularly are on the phone, booking our guests for the next day. We reconvene in a conference call at 5 o'clock every afternoon and find out what guests we've got and where we think we're going to go the next day in terms of issues and things we want to talk about. We're also watching that evening, and then the next morning before every show, we reconvene again and sit down and put it finally together. And then we're on the air. So, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, but we love doing it, and we couldn't do it without you. That's the important thing, because Free Speech TV, no corporate money, no government money. It is all viewer contributions. We work only for you and depend on you and ask you to help us once again as generously as you can. And there's a little incentive to do so. You can go to freespeech.org, make your contribution, freespeech.org. If you can give us $120, that's $10 a month. We will send you a mug, a Bill Press mug, and a pound of coffee from Peregrine Coffee, our favorite coffee shop downstairs in this building, for $240 or $20 a month. From Cowgirl Creamery, the best cheese in the world, believe me, made in California, close to our home in California. A special package from Cowgirl Creamery for $360 or $30 a month. You'll get the Cowgirl Creamery selection and a Bill Press mug as well. And a very special treat for those who are able to do so and willing to pledge $1,000 of Free Speech TV. You make your way to Washington anytime with a guest. I will take you and your guest out to dinner, some fabulous restaurant in Washington, and invite you in to watch the show the next morning. So I know you're part of the free speech community, or else you wouldn't be watching this morning. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your help in the past. And now please ask you to dig in again. You know how important it is. I know how much you depend on the independent expression of progressive opinion you only get on Free Speech TV. Now's the time to help again, and thank you.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Kevin Cirilli from Politico here with us in the next hour, and then a reporter also, Marina, Koren from National Journal. Peter?
Earlier this week, some parts of the D.C. metro area got as much as 10 inches of snow.
Mm-hmm.
Tomorrow is spring, so that's good news. However, there is snow in the forecast for the Washington, D.C. area on Tuesday of next week.
No.
Temperatures will continue.
No, that's spring.
Temperatures will continue to be lower than average next week, and that there is a slight chance, but a chance, that snow could come on Tuesday.
Jason Semino told us that from the Proper Weather Gang. Yeah, I know.
It's going to be super cold next week in spring.
If it snows next week, I'm going to Hawaii. Oh, no. I just can't take another snowstorm.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, friends and neighbors, we'll get back to the news of the day in just a moment here. But first, I got a couple of questions for you. First one, are you enjoying Free Speech TV? Well, I know the answer to that one. If you weren't, you wouldn't keep watching. We appreciate that. Good to have you with us. And the second question is, since you enjoy Free Speech TV so much, have you done your share to keep us on the air? Have you made your pledge? If so, we thank you, because so many of you have. But if not, let's get on it. Do it today. It is so important. Look, again, I don't have to tell you how special Free Speech TV is. I'm very, very proud to be part of it. Less than a year right now. But it's the only place you can find such great hosts, Tom Hartman, Stephanie Miller, Amy Goodman. I hope I'm one of them. And it's all content-free, no commercials, the only truly independent and progressive cable channel that is out there. You won't find it anywhere else. But the thing is, we depend on you. That's the only way we can stay on the air. We get no corporate money, no government money, no sponsor money, right? It is all from our viewers that keep us going. So we ask you to give us a call today, 877-378-8669, or you can go to freespeech.org and make your pledge. And as a little reward for making your pledge, if you can do us this $10 a month, $120, we'll send you a Bill Press Show mug. You can have your coffee with us every day, and a pound of coffee from Washington's favorite little coffee shop, which is right downstairs in our building. It's called Peregrine Coffee. If you can afford $20 a month, $240 pledge, you will get a very, very special treat from one of my favorite little businesses out in West Marin, California, West Marin County, from Cowgirl Creamery, a selection of their best cheeses. I think they're the best cheeses on the planet, and I've lived in Switzerland, so I know. Cowgirl Creamery for $240. For $360 or $30 a month, we'll send you the Cowgirl Creamery and a mug. And here's something very, very special. If you can do it and you can afford $1,000 for Free Speech TV, then make your way to Washington as a little special treat. I'll take you out to dinner with Carol, and we'll invite you and a guest in to watch the show the next morning here in our studio in downtown Washington, D.C. So those are just our ways of saying thank you ahead of time to you. Please do it. Please consider it today. And again, the number to call is 877-378-8669, or you can go to freespeech.org. We love bringing the show to you every morning, love being with you every day, and ask you to be with us by making your pledge as soon as you can and as generously as you can. Thank you so much.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
So this is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Racing dot. I want you to just push the area.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
7 a.m. on the East Coast, and Vladimir Putin has not seized any more countries today. We're off to a good start. But it's early. Good morning, everybody. What do you say? Wednesday, March 19. Great to see you today. Thank you for being part of the program here, hopping on board as the Bill Press bus as we head off from our nation's capital all around the country on your local progressive talk radio station, on Free Speech TV, and worldwide on our video stream at youtube.com/TawkrTV. Great to have you with us today. We've got lots to talk about from the news here in our nation's capital, around the country, and around the globe. Still no word on flight number 370, Malaysian flight number 370, and a lot of people now are saying this is going to be like Amelia Earhart's plane. We will just never know what happened to that plane. But that was one plane, Amelia Earhart, one small plane with one person on it. This is a 777 with over 200 people on it. Who knows? Now, you know what to do. You want to give us your thoughts on and comments on any of the news of the day? Give us a call at 866-55-PRESS. Send us your comments on Twitter at BP Show, and on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. One thing nice about the program is you will get to meet and get to know some of our favorite people, some of our favorite guests, one of whom back this morning from Politico, Kevin Cirilli. Hello, Kevin. Good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming in.
Of course, of course.
It's early in the morning.
No, it's not early. It's never.
You probably had to get up around 3 o'clock, right? To get here by 7 at any rate. And you're joining our team here, Peter Ogburn and Lisa Murphy.
Good morning.
Alicia Cruz is there. There she is, to take care of your phone calls, answer your phone calls, and Cyprian Bolding will keeping us looking good on the video cam as well. So poor Chris Christie now, Kevin, how the mighty have fallen, right? I mean, they're still talking about Bridgegate, and he's now back trying to get his reputation back, get his mojo back by going to town meetings, and everywhere he shows up, he meets hecklers.
Yeah.
He did again yesterday, but Chris Christie said, this is who these people are. Here he goes.
This is what they do. This is what they do. They do it because they have no other choice. They lose at the polls perpetually, and so what they want to do is come here and disturb your ability to be able to ask questions.
They just beat me up. Last time he told this one guy, sit down and shut up.
Shut up.
It's almost like he's saying, it's like he's trying to reverse the positions. I think last time he was being accused of being a bully, and yet now I think it's almost like, this is, poor me. This isn't my fault.
Right.
So,
but he's accusing them of being a bully.
Exactly. So, I still haven't seen how Chris Christie has been able to turn the narrative or send a jolt in this narrative. It'll be interesting to see if he can do it, but I haven't seen it.
And where did I see? I think it was in Illinois where they sent the Republican National Governors Association sent out congratulations to this is Bruce Rauner, I think his name is, whoever, the Republican who won the primary yesterday in Illinois. But the congratulations did not come from Chris Christie, the chair of the Republican Governors Association. It came from whatever governor is the vice chair.
Yeah.
They're just really keeping a low profile in that position because they know that he's basically poison right now.
Exactly, and his political brand, it seems, as we just heard in that clip, it seems to have really taken a hit and is being used against him.
Little tarnish there. Kevin Cirilli with us for the first half hour, and then we'll be joined later by reporters from National Journal and Huffington Post. Jennifer Duffy from the Cook Report will be here to run us through all the important Senate races of 2014. Very, very important. We'll get right to the important stories of the day, but first, we've got the less important stories of the day.
Hey, big stories making news today. Just a couple of other ones behind the headlines we're talking about. Ted Strickland is joining the Center for American Progress Action Fund. The former governor of Ohio is taking over that role. There's been a lot of speculation as to whether he was going to run for Senate or another public office. He said, as of now, I have no plans to run for the Senate, and he's happy to be there at the Center for American Progress Action Fund. So there you go. They've got a new big name heading that up.
He is a great guy, by the way. Was a great governor. And he joins Tom Perriello, former member of Congress from Virginia, there at the Center for American Progress. They're picking up some good people. I don't know whether Tom Daschle is still part of that.
I don't know.
He was a senior fellow there for a while.
We'll find out.
And, of course, our friend Bishop Gene Robinson.
That's right.
Yeah.
A lot of good people
crew,
over there.
Good crew.
And let's not
forget.
I mean, come on.
Prince Igor.
Prince Igor himself.
Right. Igor Volsky. Right.
March Madness is underway if you count the play-in games, which happened last night. 4 teams had a shot to play their way into the tournament. First off, Albany beat Mount St. Mary's 71-64, so Albany is in. And North Carolina State wrecked Xavier, so NC State goes in. So Albany, NC State are now in the tournament. However, neither one of them found their way into President Obama's Final Four. He yesterday revealed his Final Four picks are Florida, Arizona, Michigan State, and Louisville.
Did he copy off of Nate Silver?
I'll have to look and see. He may have copied off of Nate Silver. That's a good point. And yesterday, Disney and Pixar made it official that they are going to make a sequel to The Incredibles. It's always been a fan favorite of Pixar watchers, and it's a good movie. Yeah. It's a shock it's taken them this long to make one. So it's going to be a sequel to The Incredibles. Also, they're going to make a Cars 3, which is a Pixar flick that not a lot of people liked, but
I liked.
It's turned in. The original one was pretty good, but it didn't make nearly as much money in theaters. The thing is, though, it's so much more profitable because of all the different toys that you can sell, all the different cars that they can sell to kids. So there will be a Cars 3, there will be an Incredibles 2.
And the sequel to Finding Nemo, right?
Oh, I didn't see that.
They are. That was announced. Sorry, not that I'm like up on my kid movies.
I am. I didn't see that about me.
You have to be.
Yeah, I know.
That's right. Kevin, a big story with in the Washington Post today. Their lead story, and it's more of their reporting on some of the documents that Edward Snowden released. And this one shows even more of a reach of NSA, right? The story reports that NSA now has, under this one program, Mystic, they've got the capacity to record every single phone call made in an entire country and store them for 30 days. So there's just sort of a revolving thing. As new ones come in, then they purge, the old ones go out. But for 30 days, every single phone call. And they're doing this, and the program is underway. They just won't identify the name of the country where they're collecting these phone calls. This is massive.
It's massive. And there's 2 points I want to make quickly. Is that, number one, they haven't identified the name of the country, as you've said, because U.S. administration officials are saying that it would put, our troops in danger and for national security reasons. But this program, Bill, has been going on since 2011. 2011, it's now 2014. I mean, what else are they doing? And the program was actually started in 2009. And so it didn't reach full capabilities. So this has been going on really for 5 years since this has started. That's point number one. Point number two, Edward Snowden leaking this to the Washington Post. Huge scoop for the Post. Again, it proves that Snowden is not going away anywhere anytime soon, and that he continues to be able to be a source of information and to some extent a thorn in the side of this administration, but it's not going to go quietly or to stop anytime soon.
Both excellent points, and the Post points out that this program, called Mystic, as you say, right, storing billions of phone calls, right, they are listening in. It means every single phone call. Now, it says the analysts only listen in to a fraction of the calls, but they admit they are listening in on the calls. So,
and also that they've according to the story, that they also have considered expanding the program
to other countries.
Yeah. So,
5 or 6 countries they're talking about expanding it to.
And it's just remarkable.
No, last week, or a couple of months ago in January, when he gave his big speech, remember the president said, we're going to do a review of this, what NSA is doing, and I'm going to address it. And he gave this big speech, I think at the Justice Department, I remember. But he said, quote, "The United States is not spying on ordinary people who don't threaten our national security regardless of their nationality." Well, we are.
Well,
right? We don't spy on ordinary people. If you're collecting every single phone call in an entire country, and you are listening in on even 1% of those calls, we're spying on ordinary people.
And there were 6 objectives that he has said, the administration has said that they used to define whether or not they're going to tap into these calls, and one of which is terrorism. These definitions, Bill, as you know, are so broad. And so, when you use something like terrorism, but I got to be honest, I mean, with the exception of you, can you imagine if this was former President George W. Bush and this initiative were uncovered, the response in the media? I mean, it really is, when you think about back in 2008, then Senator Obama, how he campaigned as an anti-war president, essentially, and now to look at some of these programs, I mean, it's a stunning contrast. He says that it is being done to protect Americans' interests. It still is a remarkable program that the Post has uncovered.
You just wonder, and Peter and I were talking about this earlier, what it will take for the American people finally to say, stop, enough, or for the Congress to say enough. We saw Dianne Feinstein getting pissed off last week, but what's going to happen because of that? I don't know.
Senator Feinstein, I thought that was historic in many ways.
Absolutely.
And how she, responds and continues to respond. Back when she was in California, she said just the other day that she's, she was again talking to the local media about some of these concerns and drones. So it'll be interesting to see how Senator Feinstein, someone in the president's own party, plays this out. But is anybody really surprised? I mean, when you read something like this, are you surprised that this is being done? I mean, what a time that we live in.
That's what I think. Like you were talking about the tipping point and what people are going to really start to care about. I think at this point it would have to be something genuinely shocking, and I don't think that this is genuinely shocking. Really? Not given what we've seen. I really am not stunned by it.
Well, let's find out what country it is.
Yeah.
And let's see what happens, right?
Yeah.
And I think they'll be held to pay, and particularly if they expand it to 5 countries. And you get, at some point, the president's, I think, going to have to stop defending these intelligence agencies and say, yes, things are a little out of whack. We'd better rein things in a little bit.
And I think it's here domestically, it's starting to come from some major businesses. CEO, founder, Mark Zuckerberg went on a Facebook rant. Where else would he do it, right? Bombarding President Obama for some of his internet policies. I thought that was something that really stands out, saying that, keep the government out of this internet, keep the internet open. When Mark Zuckerberg is doing that, here at home, I think that speaks volumes as well to the sentiments.
So the program is Mystic, the NSA collecting the phone calls, every single phone call in an entire nation. We're talking billions of phone calls. Our first big item we wanted to cover up with Kevin this morning. And when we come back, Politico has stirred things up about...
Never.
Yes. Maybe are Democrats picking on the 1%? Are we playing the politics of envy and jealousy? We'll be back with Kevin Cirilli from Politico. Here are your calls. Welcome at 866-55-PRESS.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, friends, we'll be back to the news and your commentary and your comments in just a moment. But first, let me just be very, very straight with you. We need your help. You know what Free Speech TV is all about? We're very, very lucky and very proud to be part of it. But it's the only place that you can find completely independent, unfettered, no restrictions, news and commentary from the left all day long, with no corporate money, no commercials, no government money. But without all of that, we depend on you. And we ask for your help and need your help this time of the year. By the way, it's a good time to make a contribution because you can take it off on your taxes. Don't forget that. We know you love free speech. If you didn't, you wouldn't be watching. But again, we can only stay on the air. The only source of funding we have is your help. So many of you have helped already. We thank you for that. And for those of you who haven't yet, you intend to do so, you just didn't get around to it, do it today. Call that number, 877-378-8669, 877-378-8669, or go to freespeech.org. freespeech.org. And make whatever pledge you can. Now, I hope you do it out of the goodness of your heart, but maybe just as a little extra incentive, we'll offer you a couple of special premiums. If you can pledge just $10 a month, $120 a year, we'll give you a Bill Press Show mug and a pound of coffee from our favorite coffee shop, Peregrine, right down on the street level in this building. For $20 a month, $240 a year, very, very special. The best cheese in the world, take it from me, made out in Point Reyes Station, California, from Cowgirl Creamery. They're wonderful, wonderful people. Send you a Cowgirl Creamery a special item. And for $360 a year or $30 a month, you'll get the mug and the Cowgirl Creamery. Now, here's something very, very special. Those of you who can make a very special pledge of $1,000 to Free Speech TV, you get your way to Washington. I've got a deal for you. Carol and I will take you and a guest out to dinner and then invite you here into the studio the next morning to watch the show with all of us. So whatever pushes your button, please be as generous as you can. And again, do it today at that number, 877-378-8669. Take advantage of that tax opportunity to get your tax contribution. And most importantly, to show your support and show your help for Free Speech TV. We are there with you and for you every single day of the week. We need you to be there for us this one special time of the year. Thanks for your help.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Marina Koren from the National Journal comes up in the next half hour to bring us up to date on whether there's any hope of getting Crimea back to the Ukraine. But I don't think so. Do you, Kevin?
No.
Kevin Cirilli's here from Politico, of course.
I think that really
it's
Putin
gone.
Just is totally ignored. I don't even think these sanctions that Obama has placed on certain small quote unquote cronies in the Putin administration, I don't even think that will do much. Those effects, that'll take months until they start to feel those effects. So it's from the foreign policy coming from the Obama administration, I think will be an attack for 2016, obviously, if Hillary runs, and then 2014 as well.
But there's very little we can do. It's just like under George Bush when Putin seized a couple of provinces in Georgia, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you raise hell about it, and then at some point you just sort of stop talking about it and move on. And I think that's what's going to happen with Crimea.
It's a good point. But yesterday, Mitt Romney writing an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal criticizing Hillary and Obama for their foreign policy. So I think already you're starting to see this. Is this the new Benghazi, quote unquote, coming from the right for an attack?
Again, go back to, I think Democrats can show what happened in Georgia and under George W. Bush when Republicans didn't say peep, right?
Mm-hmm.
I want to ask about this article, so in Politico, that the rich strike back was a headline. And as I read it, the thrust of the article is Democrats lost a special election in Florida with Alex Sink. David Jolly, the lobbyist, won. So therefore, the lesson of that is that any talk about income inequality is a loser, and it in effect is an attack on the rich, and it amounts to the politics of envy and the politics of jealousy that they're saying. I think that's nuts. I know you work for Politico.
I think that another theme from my colleague's piece is that people like New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio and Senator Elizabeth
talked a lot
Warren,
about income inequality.
Exactly, Senator Al Franken. These are more progressive members of more progressive politicians, and yet we haven't really seen them perhaps be as vocal as, let's say, the Tea Party on the opposing side. And so I do think, though, that when you look at things like minimum wage and you look at things like income inequality, it really doesn't necessarily, it's going to be difficult to get any sort of action passing through Congress just because of the politics in a midterm election year and the divide. But I think perhaps it's harder to go beyond just executive orders and sort of shining the light on some of these issues.
I would just say to Republicans who say you can't talk about the minimum wage or you can't talk about income inequality, you Democrats cannot. My response is we have the Pope on our side.
I know exactly. That's a really good. Now he might come to Congress.
Right.
Speaker Boehner invited him.
And President's going to be there next week.
Yeah.
They're going to be, and David Jackson from USA Today told us a little earlier on the program that they're expecting out of that meeting may come the announcement that the Pope is coming here this April.
That would be all. I mean, that'll be a fun day on the Hill to cover that. But I think back to this article though, one of the
quick.
Go ahead.
Real quick. Oh, I was just real quick. We're just out of time, and now we are.
Sorry.
Yeah, you hear that music? That means we're wrapping up.
Oh, see.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say. I think this midterm election year for Democrats and Republicans, I think income inequality will be a key issue that we'll see at the polls.
You got it. That's the last word. Kevin Cirilli, good to see you. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, friends, just a little break here and time out to tell you about something very, very important. It's that time again when we turn to you and ask for your help because we wouldn't be here without you. It's so funny. Everywhere I go, people always say, man, you got 3 hours to fill every morning. How do you do it? How do you keep up with all of it? Well, let me tell you, we work hard at it. I mean, we start at the end of every show. The first thing we do, we just sit right down and start planning the next day's show and get a rough outline kind of where we want to go and what guests we might want to have and what we think the big issues are going to be. And then we go out and all day long, we're watching the news, reading the news, looking at the websites, following everything. I'm down at the White House every day at the briefings and keeping on top of things down there. And then we, meantime, Peter and Elisa particularly are on the phone, booking our guests for the next day. We reconvene in a conference call at 5 o'clock every afternoon and find out what guests we've got and where we think we're going to go the next day in terms of issues and things we want to talk about. We're also watching that evening, and then the next morning before every show, we reconvene again and sit down and put it finally together. And then we're on the air. So, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, but we love doing it, and we couldn't do it without you. That's the important thing, because Free Speech TV, no corporate money, no government money. It is all viewer contributions. We work only for you and depend on you and ask you to help us once again as generously as you can. And there's a little incentive to do so. You can go to freespeech.org, make your contribution, freespeech.org. If you can give us $120, that's $10 a month. We will send you a mug, a Bill Press mug, and a pound of coffee from Peregrine Coffee, our favorite coffee shop downstairs in this building, for $240 or $20 a month. From Cowgirl Creamery, the best cheese in the world, believe me, made in California, close to our home in California. A special package from Cowgirl Creamery for $360 or $30 a month. You'll get the Cowgirl Creamery selection and a Bill Press mug as well. And a very special treat for those who are able to do so and willing to pledge $1,000 of Free Speech TV. You make your way to Washington anytime with a guest. I will take you and your guest out to dinner, some fabulous restaurant in Washington, and invite you in to watch the show the next morning. So I know you're part of the free speech community, or else you wouldn't be watching this morning. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your help in the past. And now please ask you to dig in again. You know how important it is. I know how much you depend on the independent expression of progressive opinion you only get on Free Speech TV. Now's the time to help again, and thank you.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
Connect with The Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is The Bill Press Show.
Here we go, 33 minutes after the hour now on this Wednesday morning, March 19. Good to see you today. The Bill Press Show coming to you live from our nation's capital and brought to you today by AFSCME, the largest public employee and healthcare workers union in the entire country. Good men and women of AFSCME under President Lee Saunders, making America happen. You bet. You can find out more about their good work at AFSCME, AFSCME.org. This is quite unusual today. Senator Rand Paul, Tea Partier, Republican conservative, giving a big speech at the University of California, Berkeley. You would think that'd be the last place you would find Rand Paul, but he is speaking today about NSA and about our intelligence agencies and about the use of drones. I imagine he will get a big welcome.
That's going to be
and a very
surreal.
Positive response at UC Berkeley on those topics. Be interesting to watch today, especially in light of the Washington Post reporting, as we were just discussing with Kevin Cirilli, that the NSA now has a capacity and has a program underway in one unnamed country to collect every single phone call made in that country by every single person and collect all that information. Wow. But the other big issue that we've been dealing with the last couple of days, week or so, is Crimea and Russia. Is it all over now? Is Crimea part of Russia? And that's the end of the story. Marina Koren has been covering this issue from the beginning for the National Journal, and she joins us in the studio this morning. Hi, Marina. Good to see you.
Thanks for having
Thanks
me.
for coming in. I will forgive you for coming in last week while I was off in Las Vegas and, helping out Peter Ogburn here. But
yeah.
Well, that didn't count. This is.
That's the spirit. That's the spirit. So my take on this is, tell me if I'm wrong, that it's end of story. Crimea is now part of Russia. Move on, right?
That's pretty accurate. I mean, Wikipedia still can't decide whether it is. If you look at the edits on, Russia's page, they're not sure what Russia's map looks like right now. But Crimea is essentially gone. I mean, an overwhelming number of its population voted to secede from Ukraine over the weekend and join Russia. And Russia is moving to annex it. It's just a matter of formalities right now, getting the Russian parliament to approve it, the court to approve it, and that's going to happen in a matter of days.
I mentioned Rand Paul. His father, Ron Paul, yesterday said basically, so what? In a sense, who cares? If 93% of the people, or 97% in that territory, vote that they want, those who voted, of those who voted, said, we want to be part of Russia. Russia is their number one language. They've now adopted the ruble. They've switched their clocks to Moscow time. Mm-hmm. Does it really impact us in the United States at all?
Well, the question of whether it impacts the U.S., I mean, that's interesting. Like, there's this weird case of, what's the moral case for fighting this secession? Like you said, the population of Crimea wants this. And, Crimea has been a part of Ukraine for, about 2 decades. Before that, it was a part of the Soviet Union. No one ever thought that it would fall apart.
Right.
And it was, given to Ukraine as a gift in 1954.
Yeah.
So it has strong cultural ties to Russia. It makes, in some sense, it makes more sense for it to be part of Russia.
The argument that I hear on the other side is, well, we have to everybody has to respect international borders, the sovereignty of another nation. So you can't just go in and say, in fact, John Kerry said something about like that second John Kerry bite from yesterday, at least if we can, where you can't just grab anything you might want. Here's Secretary of State John Kerry.
International law means something. And it means something because the international community came together over a period of time to give it that meaning.
Yeah. And he did go on to say you can't just grab a little piece of territory that you might want. But that's true. Mm-hmm. At the same time, what are you willing to do, right, to enforce that international law or to respect those boundaries everywhere in the world?
Right. And especially when Russia doesn't agree that it violated international law. It's more international norms, and those are much tougher to enforce. I mean, they're just abstract. And if Russia did something similar in 2008 with Georgia, it's doing this now in 2014, what's next?
Is there, if you listened to Putin's speech yesterday, there's a lot of resentment, right, sort of about, it's almost like Rodney Dangerfield. We're not getting any respect. And this was a way of saying, damn it, we're here. We want to be respected. We want to be recognized, right? I mean, there's a lot of stuff had built up over the years.
Right. The speech was rare in that, it wasn't just a press conference. It was like a history lesson that was steeped with this resentment, for the West, and that Putin didn't mention directly the United States, but he kept referring to the West as, Western partners and colleagues, and saying that they have slighted them in the past, and that they are, by supporting the opposition and the new government in Ukraine, that they're pushing Russia to do this. They're giving Russia no choice but to protect their interests in Crimea and maybe eastern Ukraine.
So does it end here? Putin says, I have no intention for now of seizing any more of Ukraine. Not to mention Estonia, Lithuania, Latvia, who knows what else, or Ukraine itself.
Right.
Do you think he'll be happy with Crimea?
I think he will for a time. But you're already seeing, and it's tough to predict. I mean, the annexation of Crimea happened faster than it takes some people to, binge watch a Netflix show. Things are moving really fast. So, but there are already these separatist rumblings in eastern Ukraine. And, it's unclear whether the Kremlin is backing that, but they very well could be. And, if that continues, Putin can say, there's this unrest in eastern Ukraine and the Russians there are being threatened by Kiev, and he might want to move in there and protect those people too.
And there's no doubt, it seems to me, when you see the reaction that he got yesterday, of course, it was in the parliament, right? But multiple standing ovations, and that he speaks to this Russian nationalism, I guess, which is very real and very powerful among the Russian people. Right?
It is, and I think it's something that the West can sometimes, underestimate, because annexing Crimea, this is a big national, pride moment. This is huge for Russia, and Putin's goal is to kind of restore the Soviet glory of the Cold War, and he did that this week, and that's obviously cause for celebration over there.
So, are we back in the Cold War?
That's a very good question. I mean, yikes. I wonder if that's the only point of reference that we have for U.S. and Russia relations. That we're obviously going to say, is this a Cold War? Is this a cool war? But it's missing a lot of the factors of the Cold War. There's no arms race going on, obviously, and there's less of the ideology that dominated the war. The West is the enemy, but we are seeing a little bit of that. In his speech, Putin said that the West had crossed a red line. He's using President Obama's words. He said that the West has crossed a red line by supporting the new Ukrainian government, and they're not going to stand for that.
Now, the Republicans are making two arguments about this. One is that Putin did this because President Obama showed that he was weak. Particularly, he showed he was weak when he didn't bomb Syria. Syria used chemical weapons. This is John McCain. Lindsey Graham has said the same thing. Syria used chemical weapons. The president said there's a red line. They used the weapons, and they crossed the red line, and we didn't bomb them. And Putin immediately saw, aha, Obama's weak. I'm going to take Crimea.
All right. Well, it's an interesting argument because we can't know for sure what Putin's strategy was. But I think it's possible that whether it was Obama or someone else, if there was this pretext to take back a former Soviet republic, Putin was going to jump on it no matter who the U.S. president was.
Somebody raised that issue in the briefing yesterday, and I thought Jay Carney correctly pointed out that theory sort of falls apart when you realize that in 2008, when we had George Bush in the White House, who was considered tough on Russia, that he still invaded Georgia and seized 2 provinces in Georgia.
Right.
And nobody said he did it because George Bush was weak on Russia, because George Bush wasn't weak on Russia. So, it doesn't really follow. But the other argument we hear is that it was a mistake from the beginning for President Obama to reset our policies, our relationship with Russia.
Right.
Any credence to that?
Well, resets with Russia are tough because Russian leaders are so unpredictable, and I feel that Putin, if it serves his interests, he will be friendly with the U.S. and in terms of Syria, he had a lot of stake there. He had a very important military base in Syria, and he wanted to protect that. And he saw that, maybe I should get the U.S. on my side a little bit here.
Mm-hmm.
I think he picks and chooses his battles. And the overarching theme is, what are Russian interests?
Right. And our interests, right? And it seems to me we've got a lot more on our plate with Russia, Iran, Syria, God knows what else.
Venezuela, right? Maybe in the future.
Maybe Venezuela.
The State Department is stretched pretty thin right now, I imagine.
Yeah, that we're not going to be able to say, I don't think, we're never going to deal with Putin again until he puts Crimea back as part of Ukraine. Right? That's not an option.
It's been interesting that there hasn't been a formal... some people are wondering maybe it's time for a primetime address from Obama from the White House, just talking about this as opposed to, small statements about sanctions. It just seems like there's no going back for Crimea, so I wonder what the West is going to do next.
Yeah. We had limited options to begin with. We have even more limited options now, it seems to me. Marina Koren is here from the National Journal. She's been reporting on the story from the beginning. It is... It's very complex, but on one hand and on the other hand, I think it's pretty straightforward. Crimea is now part of Russia. End of story. Let's talk about it. Your calls, your questions, your comments, welcome at 866-55-PRESS. The big question is Putin going to stop here? And do you believe him when he says this is all he wants, just Crimea? That's all I want. 866-55-77-377.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey friends, lots to talk about today, lots going on, and we'll get right back to the news of the day and our Bill Press Show this morning in just a second. But first, I want to take a little time out once again to ask for your help for all of us here at Free Speech TV. You know, I don't have to tell you how much, I've told you before, how much we love being with you first thing in the morning, bring you the news of the day. We love the fact that you're with us, but you know, we wouldn't be here without you, and we really do need your help. That's what makes the difference on Free Speech TV. We don't get any corporate money. We don't get any government funding. All of our, we don't get any commercial funding. All of our money, all of our revenue for Free Speech TV comes from you, our viewers. I know you appreciate Free Speech TV. Otherwise, you wouldn't be watching. You know that you get here totally unfettered, totally independent, just right, straight news of the day with good progressive commentary all day long from me and from Tom Hartman and Stephanie Miller and Amy Goodman, all of our good friends at Free Speech TV. Well, we wouldn't be here without you. It's just as simple as that. You've been very generous in the past. We're very excited that so many of you already, this pledge drive, have stepped up to the plate. We thank you for that, and if you haven't already done so, encourage you to make that big call today to 877-378-8669 and make your pledge. Be as generous as you can to Free Speech TV, just to keep this independent, the one single progressive television network on the air, and that is Free Speech TV. And encourage you to do so. Very, very excited to be able to offer you. If you could just give us $10 a pledge, $10 a month, that's $120 a year. You get a Bill Press Show mug and a pound of coffee from our favorite coffee shop downstairs here in our building. If you can up that to $20 a month and a pledge of $240, which we thank you, you'll love the cheese from Cowgirl Creamery. It comes from a part of Marin County where we live in California. I think it's the best cheese in the entire world. We'll send you a selection of Cowgirl Creamery. And for $360 or $30 a month, you get the Cowgirl Creamery, Cowgirl cheese selection, and the Bill Press mug. That's $30 a month or $360. And then, very, very special, and some of you have signed up for this already, if you can afford to help Free Speech with $1,000 and make your way to Washington, D.C., here's what. We will take you out to dinner at one of our favorite restaurants in Washington and invite you to come here the next morning in studio with us to see the show. That'll be a great deal of fun. Hope you'll take advantage of that. Again, the number to make your pledge is 877-378-8669. We depend on you. Please be as generous as you can. Thank you. Putin talking Crimea with Marina, Koren, staff correspondent for the National Journal, who's been covering this story. By the way, totally unrelated, but it was reported this morning that Bill Yossis, who is the pastry chef at the White House, is leaving his post. He's also a good friend of the First Lady, so has been very active with her in the White House garden. So, Peter, this is a job available here. Peter,
look, Bill, I've had a wonderful run chef here on the show. But, yeah, I'm putting in my resume. I just want you to know.
Okay, good. My
kids can tell you I make wonderful pancakes. It counts as pastry.
It counts as pastry?
Yeah.
As long as I get invited to the to your first White House dinner.
You got it.
All right. So,
as long as I don't have to cook guacamole.
All right. You can call Carol in for that.
Yeah.
All right. Here we go. Yes, Vladimir Putin stunning the world yesterday. It didn't take long for him to take this move. What it was, boom, boom, boom. Right. They had the referendum on Sunday. On Tuesday, he announces, boom, done deal. Right?
Exactly. I mean, it would have looked bad to the Russian people if he dragged his feet. He doesn't care how it looked to the international
And
community.
you certainly get the opinion he doesn't care at all what we do or say or what sanctions we apply or don't apply, right? He's
Right.
just
In the short term, no, he has tunnel vision, and when he had tunnel vision for the last few weeks, and that was Crimea. So we'll see what that is next. But, I mean, you saw yesterday that the Deputy Prime Minister of Russia took to Twitter to mock these sanctions that President Obama announced on Monday. And Russia's already drawing up its own list of sanctions against key U.S. officials. So it looks like whatever the U.S. does, Russia might try to match it.
Chris is calling from Atlanta, Georgia. Hello, Chris. Good morning. What do we do about Putin?
Yeah, I don't know what to do about Putin, man. It's kind of crazy. And to me, it's kind of like saying, hey, we have the majority of this part of the world is whatever race. Say America, the majority of Americans are in Norway, and then something breaks out. And then just because there's a majority, does that give us the right to say, oh, we're going to take this part of Norway? No, that's crazy. That's just crazy.
No, I know. But at the same time, I guess, what options do we have, right? We're certainly not going to send them the Marines, Chris.
Yeah, totally. I'm kind of like you guys. I have no clue. It almost seems like, he just kind of swiped it up, and nobody's really going to do anything about it. And, it's just kind of bizarre, really.
I appreciate the call, Chris. You know, that's a point that, Maria, maybe, well, let's think about it. Where would most American expats live? Mexico?
Yeah, maybe.
Perhaps.
Jamaica? Just trying to think. I mean, what could we seize? How about this?
What could we seize?
I mean, that's what Chris is saying, that's right.
Right.
Maybe we could trade him. How about this? You give Crimea back to Ukraine, and we'll give him Arizona.
And we'll let you win the World Cup.
Yeah, there you go. We'll throw the World Cup.
If it's Europe, maybe you have to talk soccer terms at this point.
Yeah.
That could be it. I'd like to give him Arizona.
Or Florida.
Well, there are parts of Florida that I like. There's no part of Arizona I like.
The Grand Canyon?
a good
I
point.
do like the Grand Canyon.
There's some stuff in Arizona that's, away from civilization.
Yeah, but Jan Brewer, come on.
She's leaving, though.
For Putin to have to deal with Jan Brewer, I would like to. If anybody could take him on, might be Jan Brewer.
She's retiring. Maybe Putin could become governor of Arizona.
All right, so I want to look forward here, Marina. It's a big planet. There are a lot of serious problems, as we talked just before the break. Iran and Syria among them. So at some point, we're going to be dealing with Putin on all of these issues, aren't we? And just basically look the other way when there's ever any talk about Crimea.
Right. I mean, there's going to be other world crises that might require Russia and the U.S. to have a working relationship, and that's going to be a weird balance to find.
And in the end, it was important, I mean, I think, to reset our relationship with Russia. And resetting the relationship, trying to move past the Cold War, doesn't mean that there are not going to be differences along the way, correct? And this is one of them.
Right. I mean, I think a reset works in the context of, you have a new U.S. president who's going to be dealing with Russia, and it's a new relationship, but Russia remains unchanged since this, in many ways. So we can't expect them to act differently with each new presidency.
Yeah. And I would say, I think we move forward as long as Putin doesn't make a habit of this or practice of this and try to get Ukraine or Estonia or Latvia or anything else. But we will continue to follow it with your good lead. Thank you, Marina Koren from National Journal. You can always follow her work at nationaljournal.com. When we come back, I'll tell you what President Obama's up to today.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Tune into Free Speech TV for Democracy Now!, a national, independent, award-winning news program bringing you people and perspectives rarely seen on corporate media.
Hey, we were getting ready for the third big hour together this morning. Unfortunately, we lose you on Free Speech TV, but the good news is you can continue watching on our video stream, TawkrTV, youtube.com/Tawkr, TAWKR-TV. It's the double Jennifers in the next hour. Jenn Bendery from Huffington Post covers the Hill and the White House for Huffington Post. She'll be in studio with us. And then Jennifer Duffy from the Cook Report. She's their expert on Senate races in this country. She'll be in studio with us also. All of that coming up in hour number 3.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, in the next hour, Jenn Bendery from the Huffington Post in studio with us, as well as Jennifer Duffy from the Cook Politico Report. President Obama today gets a daily briefing this morning at 9:45. This afternoon, he will be hosting a screening of the new documentary Cesar Chavez at the White House. And then this afternoon, a whole series of interviews with local television anchors from New England, St. Louis, Minneapolis, Dallas, Phoenix, and San Diego. Those local anchors getting a chance to interview the President of the United States. We have a briefing, a press briefing, as always, today at 1 o'clock with Jay Carney. We'll tell you all about it tomorrow. Back with Jenn Bendery from Huffington Post, and then Jennifer Duffy.
This is the Bill Press Show.
California, or the Golden State, has been in the midst of a 3-year drought, and this year, some scientists predict could be the driest in 500 years. Governor Jerry Brown declared a state of emergency in January and in February of this year. The world's 10th largest economy, California is also the United States' top agricultural producer. Half of all our fruits and vegetables come from California. The Golden State is not the only place on the planet struggling for this vital resource. In December 2013, the World Resources Institute found that 37 countries face severe water shortages. Free
a bit frizzy today. Oh, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork. Loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach
likes
your
you.
kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov. If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
Did you see the world differently? Did you celebrate the victory?
So today, I state clearly and with conviction America's commitment to seek the peace and security of a world without nuclear weapons.
Did you stand up against our greatest threat? Change the world.
In 1920s America, the Great Depression effectively erased consumer demand. Struggling manufacturers needed new ways to get people buying again. Innovative production processes like stamping and use of molds allowed them to use new materials for their designs. Products using vinyl, chrome, aluminium and plywood began appearing. American industrial designers began introducing streamlined, efficient shapes that shouted progress. Bel Geddes pioneered what we now refer to as utilitarian art. Things that had little reason to look sleek, now all of a sudden did. At the 1939 World Fair featuring Bel Geddes' immensely popular Futurama exhibit, a new era of American industrial design proudly claimed to be building the world of tomorrow. Americans found great positivity in these futuristic forms. Yay. Things were looking up. American industrial designers realised that by making objects look great, people simply wanted them more. From cars to kitchen appliances, the most influential society on earth was spending money again. Mass consumption had arrived. Advertisers finally had lots to talk about. Personal taste could be expressed through the things you bought. Style became equally as important as function. Chair designers like Eames and Saarinen didn't just design seating, they created desirable lifestyles. People behind the product suddenly were stars. Everyone wanted to know who they were. Raymond Loewy was one of the shining lights of American industrial design. His face ended up on every coffee table in the nation. Toothpaste packaging promised whiter teeth. Washing powder packaging promised whiter whites. Who knew such simple household objects would shape the tastes and ambitions of an entire society? American industrial design improved America, functionally, culturally and intellectually, and exported it around the globe.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
What if the missing plane landed in Crimea?
Oh
now,
my God.
That would put two big stories together, right? Now, that would be breaking news.
That would be a big deal.
Except we don't have that breaking news. We got a lot more, though, to talk about. Hey, good morning, everybody. What do you say? Wednesday morning. Wednesday, March 19. Welcome to the Bill Press Show here. Hour number 3 on this Wednesday morning, with our take on the news of the day here in our nation's capital, with the House and the Senate still out of session, but still a lot going on here. We'll also take a look at what's happening around the country and around the globe as well. Lots to talk about this morning, a lot you're going to want to sound off on at 866-55-PRESS, 866-55-77-377. And we've got the entire team here this morning, as always, our inside team and our outside team. The inside team, Peter Ogburn and Elisa Murphy.
Yeah.
The outside team just walking in.
There you go.
Jenn Bendery from the Huffington Post.
Why you got to make me an
Jen.
outsider?
Well, you don't work here every day.
I'm here a lot. I'm sitting outside every day.
That's my
waiting
same
for my
excuse.
next gig on here.
I'm here a lot.
Is that, all right.
I'm here a
You're
lot.
part of the inside team then.
Yes.
We love you
Welcome.
to part of the
I have
inside
this
team.
mug at home.
Oh,
That's right. You
I
do
do.
have a mug.
I
All right,
use it all the
so
time.
I'm sorry.
Sheesh.
I take it back.
You have a
All right.
mug. You're an insider.
Part of our team. We got it. Alicia Cruz, rather, here as well, on the phones, and Cyprian Bolding on our video cam. How have you been?
Good.
Good?
Good.
Good? Everything? With the Congress out of town this week, this is a good time for you?
Yes, it's a nice breather from the chaos. So now's a good time to go through all those emails I never responded to.
Oh, right.
And apologize to Flax everywhere.
And then they come back for maybe part of 1 week and part of another week, and then they have a big 2 weeks off in April, right?
Yeah, I think it's Easter.
Yeah.
And they have a lot of recesses. I mean, they'll say
Tell
it's
me
not a
about it.
recess, it's work because they're going back to their districts to meet with constituents. But
Yeah.
I mean, they piece out of here all the time. They're literally running down the stairs of the House of Representatives, literally on Thursdays after their last vote. Sometimes I run out there and take pictures just because it's hilarious.
To see them running?
Like old white guys running downstairs to get into cars and go home.
To be fair, I
to
do
the
kind
airports.
of the same thing here on Friday.
That's fine, but you're not a member of Congress trying to look dignified in
That's
your
right.
very respected job. They're
right.
like, get out of the way, I gotta go.
They got to get to the airport to get that flight.
They're like little
home,
kids
right?
running out of school.
Yeah.
Head for the
Right.
hills.
So, have you filled out your brackets yet, Jen?
I did.
You did?
I did.
Oh
Not that
my
I know
God.
anything about basketball, but at HuffPost we have this Predictatron thing that some people on our team put together.
Uh-huh.
And it's all these scales where you can measure.
Whoa.
You can rank how important you think it is, like a seed ranking for a team.
Yeah.
Versus, and also measure what certain sports, I guess experts, sports commentators, whatever, what they predict. You can rank how important that is to you. You can also rank height of team members and how important that is. And in the end, it shows a bracket that reflects your personal preferences on what's most important.
Whoa!
So I actually have some sort of quasi-scientific formula I'm trying.
I mean, Warren Buffett maybe he ought to get worried if you got that kind of
$1 billion bracket.
The $1 billion bracket, right? President Obama filled out his brackets yesterday. He had some choices I thought were a little unusual this year. At any rate, I guess he did this on ESPN as always. Here he is, starting in the West.
Out west, I'm going with Arizona, and I know these are not imaginative picks, but I think they're the right ones. Gordon and Johnson are as good a guard-forward tandem as we have. Arizona's weakened because they lost a key starter, but I think they're going to do just fine in this matchup.
All right, so that I must admit, the president puts a little more thought into his brackets than I do mine. A little more.
So how do you decide?
You don't want to know.
If I've heard of him.
What was it? No, you pick. You always pick.
I like the colors.
No. You always pick Louisville because you like saying Louisville.
That's one.
That's what I picked to win this year.
It's all
That's what I think is going to win this year.
And I have a good friend
pick.
whose family came from Louisville. They still have a farm down there, so I sort of feel an attachment to Louisville. Never been there.
I'm trying something. I'm not going to fill out a bracket this year, but on our office bracket challenge, I'm going to let my 6-year-old fill out the bracket and see how he does compared
and that
to
is
Bill.
the $1 million formula right
there.
there.
It is.
Right.
Yeah,
that's right. Use that
billion, isn't it?
The Warren Buffett is $1 billion bracket. Yeah.
Right. Now the president coming east.
Down east, I'm going with the Spartans. Tom Izzo is a great tournament coach. Appling and Payne are now healthy. I think they've got a great chance of winning.
Now, who are the Spartans? I never heard of the
So they're
Spartans.
a good team.
I'm not going to pick them because I never heard of them. Where are they from?
Yeah, I don't know where they're
Michigan,
from.
right?
Michigan State. They're a good team. They're a very good team. I mean, I wouldn't say that because you haven't heard of them means that they're not.
I've heard of Michigan, but I had never heard Spartans.
I've never heard of the Spartans either.
No. When he said down
Sparty,
east, I
come
thought
on. You know about
what?
You know. Okay. I mean, they are a good. They're a well-known good team.
All right. Jennifer, I want to send me a copy of your brackets. I think I'll just copy yours.
I can send you our Predictatron. It's public. Everybody can use it.
Is that right? Okay. All right. Good enough. 12 minutes after the hour now, time to dive into the real issues of the day. I was impressed with an article that you wrote a couple of days ago about the White House recalibrating its approach to their nominee for Surgeon General. What's really going on?
Well, their Surgeon General nominee doesn't have the votes. That's what's going on. And this comes 2 weeks after another one of their really important nominees didn't have the votes. And that's embarrassing when that happens. And the problem is Democrats. Mm-hmm. Democrats they don't have enough Democrats to support these nominees because, they changed the rules in December last year on the filibuster. So they only need 51 votes now instead of 60 to move forward with a nominee. So that made it seem like, now Democrats, which have I think there's 53 Democrats right now. So it made it look like, hey, look, now we can actually move in here. We can actually get stuff done.
Yeah, we can get anybody approved, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
But no, that's not the case. I mean, not in addition to other crazy Senate procedural rules that Republicans have used to delay nominees, now Democrats are the problem. They don't like this. Well, the problem they have with this Surgeon General nominee is that he previously said that gun violence is a public health issue, and that he didn't.
Duh.
I know, duh.
Yeah, right.
And he said he opposed high capacity gun magazines and also military style assault weapons, and that we should ban them. So that's not really that. I mean, there's a couple.
Hardly that radical.
It's kind of bizarre for a couple of reasons. One, this position really has nothing to do with gun policy at all. I mean, he's the Surgeon General. It's not a very powerful job. It's kind of questionable what that person's job is at this point. It's kind of to advise on general health issues.
He certainly does not have the capacity to sign any executive orders or pass any laws or no power
authority over gun issues.
Right.
So there's that. But then, secondly, what he actually said about gun control isn't that shocking anyway. He's basically saying bullets are bad for your health.
Yeah. Hello.
but because it's a gun issue, the NRA is now opposing him, and that freaks out the more conservative Democrats who are up for re-election. So they're not supporting him. So now you need 51 votes and you've only got 53 Democrats, and you've got 4 or 5 Democrats who don't want to go there, then forget it.
Especially disappointing to see the Democrats, and Democrats like Mark Begich from Alaska.
He's a no. He's already said
I know,
a
but
likely
he's a pretty
no.
progressive Democrat, and yet he said likely
it's the NRA.
no.
The
But it's because
NRA always wins.
NRA, right? No, across the board. Also, Jen, before they broke for this extended what holiday? St. Patrick's Day holiday, I guess. There were 10 members of the Senate, 5 Democrats, 5 Republicans, who reached some agreement on unemployment insurance. Is that going to make it all the way through? What is your read? You talk to these people every day.
Well, I think that it looks like it has the votes in the Senate. It's a bipartisan measure. It might be a little close because it looks like they have just enough Republicans on it to clear the hurdle. But if it does pass the Senate, which I think it looks like it will, the House is a whole other story. There's just not the appetite for it in the House because it's a spending bill. And at this point, the House doesn't want to spend money on anything. So, it is offset. They offset it with some kind of weird
they have some
procedural or pensions related offset, which doesn't really make sense to me. And I think it's kind of a gimmick, but nonetheless, it looks like a pay for on paper. But I don't see how this gets through the House. Because they're not on board with extending unemployment insurance. The Republicans aren't.
And it only goes through May.
It's 5 months.
Right. So it's retroactive for 2.5 months, basically, and then forward
Right.
for
It would cover
2.5 months.
December through May, this last December. So it's not even like a long-term fix. It's 5 months of a patch to help, stem some metaphorical bleeding from people who need help.
It's sort of a statement, isn't it, about where we are with Congress today, that 10 senators, it would take this long for 10 senators to get together on anything, and when they do, they could only fix it for 5 months. I mean, isn't it?
But that's better than nothing, right? 5 months, better than nothing. And if you look at the broader context, this is a Congress where we've had a number of key bills pass the Senate that go nowhere in the House. I mean, never mind the immigration reform, which is huge, and it passed the Senate. But you've also got the Employment Non-Discrimination Act, and that passed the Senate too. And those are both pretty big deals that they even passed the Senate. And what happened now? They're just sitting in the House. So why would we think any differently on a short-term, 5-month unemployment insurance extension? It's just the hopes in the House are not good.
In response to your question, I mean, I think it is better than none. Particularly if if you're one of those people long-term unemployed, it's certainly better than nothing because you're going to get a lump paycheck to cover what you've already missed. But just in a reflection of how effective this particular Congress is, it's sad. I mean, that's how low it is. How low it has fallen. You mentioned immigration reform. President Obama last week met with 3 leaders of the Hispanic caucus from the House, and took an entirely different position on deportations than he had been taking in the past. Because I had asked about this at the briefing. Why these mass deportations, and where a lot of groups are calling for the president to halt it. And all Jay Carney would say is, we have no choice. We have to enforce the law. We have to enforce the law. Suddenly, the president last week said, maybe we ought to take another look at this policy. It was a big switcheroo, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was in terms of messaging. But what's he really saying? We're going to look into the way we deport and see. I think his word was, we're going to try to do this as humanely as possible. So we're going to, the policy still stands. It's just we want to make sure we're not doing things that basically look really bad and that hurt families, because a lot of the outcry has been over families being separated. Mm-hmm. Like a parent and a child. Maybe the child was brought here or the child was here legally, but the parent wasn't. So they're going to ship the parent back to somewhere in Latin America or something. But then, it is a shift in messaging, and I think it's sort of a bone to the immigration advocacy community because they haven't got anything. There's nothing happening. I mean, the Senate passed its immigration reform bill. Right. It went nowhere in the House, and now there's nothing happening.
Right. And with what the president said, he did not sign an executive order. He did not order the DHS to do anything differently, but he did say we should look at this. So there's a review now of the process. So at least the immigration groups are hoping that the president will say, well, let's go after those who have some criminal record, but not just break up families. Anybody who happens to be here illegally.
Right, and they want to prioritize that.
Yeah, the irony is those people, a lot of the ones who are being deported under his plan would qualify for a path to citizenship, right, under the immigration reform legislation that the Senate passed. But now, before we even get the legislation, they're deporting them. So, right to take a look, I think, at this particular policy. Lots more coming up here with Jenn Bendery from the Huffington Post. You can get the inside tip on her brackets on this. What did you call that thing again?
It's a predictatron.
Predictatron. Oh,
very serious.
There it is, right. Or what's happening in the Congress in the immigration front on the Surgeon General, on minimum wage, whatever. She's got the answers at 866-55-PRESS.
This is the Bill Press Show.
This is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Pressing down, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan. Thank you. And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you. Oh, man. Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Here we are at 25 minutes after the hour now. The Bill Press Show on a Wednesday morning, March 19. Jenn Bendery covers the Hill, covers the White House for Huffington Post. She's in studio with us. Jenn, I was just looking because I thought, do you ever see Reince Priebus at the Capitol?
You know, he was there recently. I saw him slip into, I think, the Senate Republican lunch, which is a once-a-week gathering of Senate Republicans, an official gathering.
Seth Meyers, I thought, had a good line last night that Reince Priebus had said the Democrats have to stop talking about Obamacare because Obamacare and the Florida special election proved to be such a loser on them. Seth Meyers pointed out that Reince Priebus actually sounds like something that's covered by Obamacare. It's
an unusual name.
It is, yeah, right. You could hear the doctor. Meyer said you could hear the doctor saying, "Well, it started in your Reince, and it spread to your Priebus, and we think you may lose your Priebus."
I'm suddenly grossed out, but I don't know why.
Right. So, what about this special election in Florida? I mean, this was one. Special election for the House with Congressman Young retiring, and you have a Republican lobbyist, and Republicans are like, oh my God, how do we nominate a lobbyist, right? David Hobby, and then Alex Sink, who had run for governor for the Democrats, and they thought that they had the strongest possible candidate, and yet the Republican lobbyist won. What's the reverberation inside the Capitol about that?
Oh, I mean, it's pretty predictable when this happens. Whatever party wins the seat, then all throughout the Capitol, that party is celebrating and saying it marks what's to come. And, a Republican won a special election in Florida. That means we're going to win everything in November. We're going to win all the House races, all the Senate races, and somehow maybe we'll even win the White House in an off presidential year. I mean, people always blow up individual races to be like a bellwether for everything. But, I don't know about this one. My understanding is the district it's a pretty conservative district, and we were just saying at the break. I mean, I think it's been held by a conservative, Bill Young, or someone before him for like 60 years or something. So, on the one hand, it seems like it was going to go Republican based on that, but on the other hand, Democrats sunk a lot of money into it. So, I don't know if they really thought they could take it.
And David Plouffe said, and I think he's right, this should be a screaming siren wake-up call to Democrats that they have to make sure people get out and vote. The turnout, 50,000 fewer Democrats voted in 2014 than voted in 2012 in that district.
Well, it is a special election, too.
Yeah.
Those are always a little bit wacky.
You still got to go to vote.
Yes.
You still have to vote in special elections.
Right.
Jenn Bendery, fun to have you in as member of our inside team.
Yes.
Thanks for coming in.
This
See you again.
is The Bill Press Show.
Hey friends, do you realize that heart disease kills more Americans every year than all forms of cancer combined? So when you donate to the American Heart Association, you're contributing to life-saving research with every dollar. You can make your donation today through the Pop Money personal payment service. All you do is download the app or go online to popmoney.com. Sign up to send your donation to jessica.gramillion@heart.org. jessica.gramillion@heart.org. Here's the best part. The 95-cent fee is assessed to you, the sender, regardless of how much money you contribute. That means that 100% of your donation goes to support the ongoing research to help save lives across America. No fees are paid by the American Heart Association, getting more bang for your buck. And of course, terms and conditions apply.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
In the early 20th century, the war to end all wars didn't end war at all. It stoked the fires of change. A traumatized world was ripe for change. The world was ready for modernism. Modernists wanted to forget history, or at least reinterpret it. More than just a style, modernism applied to virtually all forms of creative expression. Innovative artists like Picasso, Escher, Dali, they all started looking at their world differently. Other artists tried painting light itself. These were the Impressionists. Surrealists went a bit further. We had entered the age of the isms. Cubism, symbolism, futurism, constructivism. All these new modern ways of looking at the world blew people away. When it came to architecture, modernists were intrigued by emerging technology. Concrete, glass and steel featured heavily in their buildings. Modernists believed that they could design a better society. Ornamental indulgence was considered a frivolous waste of effort. They thought function should always dictate form, and that mankind's intelligence, creativity and capability for radical thinking should be celebrated. Take the Russian inventor Georgy Krutikov. He suggested an idea for a city held aloft by electrical currents. This at a time when there was barely enough wattage to keep the lights on. Not everything they designed was a resounding success. But you could argue modernism was the single most influential movement of the 20th century. From house music to housewares, tables and chairs to graphic design, all have been created by the aesthetics and ideas of modernism.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Here we go at 33 minutes after the hour, Wednesday morning, March 19. The Bill Press Show coming to you live from our nation's capital and brought to you today by the International Association of Iron Workers. Yes, the good men and women of the Iron Workers Union. Under President Walter Wise, the sky is the limit for them. Look at some of the great things that they have built in the last couple of years at www.ironworkers.org. You've heard me say many times, forget 2016. We got to be talking about 2014, all the important races that are up for the House, for the governorships, and for the United States Senate. 36 Senate seats up for grabs, and nobody is more on top of what's happening in the House, in the Senate, in the governor's races, in the states than the Cook Political Report under the leadership of Charlie Cook. And when it comes to the Senate, it is Jennifer Duffy who joins us in studio this morning. Again, Jennifer, it's good to have you back. Nice to see you.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
And we have some breaking news this morning in that the Cook Political Report keeps track of all these races. and calls them leaning this way, leaning that way, or whatever, you have some changes in your...
We are going to
heard for the first time anywhere right here on the Bill Press Show. So let's get right to it.
We have a saying at the Political Report that it is not our job to break news, but sometimes we can't help ourselves. You know what?
Yeah.
This cycle is getting a lot more clarity. I think in the last 4 to 6 weeks, it's gotten a lot clearer. So we have decided to move some races that we have had in lean Democrat, mostly pending primaries, because Republicans still have their primary problems. So today, Alaska, Senator Begich, Louisiana, Senator Landrieu, North Carolina, Senator Hagan are all moving to toss up. From lean Democrat
to toss up.
So
Whoa.
they are now up for grabs.
They are all held by Democrats.
They are all held by Democrats. They are all states that Mitt Romney won.
Mm-hmm.
They are all states where the president's approval rating is 35% or less.
No kidding. Yeah.
Or at least in 2013, according to the Gallup poll. We're also, now that Scott Brown's into New Hampshire, that's going to go from likely Democrat to lean Democrat. So it's a more competitive race than it was before he got in. And we did a couple of things. Well, at least one thing that should make Democrats very happy. Georgia, the open Senate seat in Georgia, Republican held. That's moving to toss up from lean Republican. I think Democrats have a great shot there. And here's one that'll surprise everyone, although it doesn't mean much yet. Mississippi, very, very red state.
Mm-hmm.
I put that on our watch list. Thad Cochran's got a primary there. If he were to lose that primary, it is going to be a more competitive seat than it should be given what kind of year it is, given Mississippi.
Let's go back to these states if we can. So the big news is, just to be sure, and make sure I understand, that in 3 states where they were lean Democrats, Louisiana, North Carolina, and Alaska, you have moved all of them down a notch, if you will, for Democrats to toss up.
Right.
Or up a notch for Republicans to toss up.
And so they join Arkansas, Senator Pryor, in the open seat in Michigan. So that's 5 seats.
That are sitting in the
toss-up column for Democrats. And remember, we also have 3 Democratic seats already leaning towards Republicans. South Dakota, West Virginia, both those are open seats. And then newly appointed Senator Walsh in Montana.
Those are Democrat seats that you think are...
pretty much gone.
Right.
So
overall, according to the Politico report, do Democrats maintain control of the Senate?
It is a jump ball today. It really is. It can just as easily fall one way or the other. Republicans have some challenges ahead of them. One, they have to defend 2 seats of their own. That seat in Georgia I talked about, and Kentucky, where Mitch McConnell is up for re-election. That may end up being the closest race in the country. It is going to be 1, 2, 3 points in either direction. And I'm not sure on Election Day I'm going to be able to call that one until we see vote come in. So they have to defend both of those. They have a lot of primaries coming down the road where if things don't go their way, they could end up with what we have labeled the exotic candidate.
I like that phrase. Yeah.
It gets us a lot less hate mail.
The Christine O'Donnell sort of exotic candidate.
More along, she is so exotic that she deserves a category all her own. But more along the lines of a Richard Murdoch.
Or not the Todd Aiken or maybe.
Yeah, but more along the lines of a Richard Murdoch.
Okay.
That could happen to them very easily in Georgia,
right.
in North Carolina. We didn't talk about Iowa, but that it's a possibility there. So there are still landmines out there for Republicans that they need to dodge.
All right.
So it really is hard to say that it tilts either way at this point.
Louisiana. Mary Landrieu, so you've downgraded it, if you will, for Democrats to a toss-up. Mary Landrieu she's a fierce campaigner.
She is.
Very effective campaigner, a great name in Louisiana. Why would that go down to toss-up? Is it because she is a strong opponent, or how do you read that?
Well, first of all,
do we know her opponent? Republicans have had their primary there?
No. You have to remember Louisiana has what we call the jungle primary that happens on Election Day. So all candidates, regardless of party, run on a single ballot. And if somebody gets over 50%, congratulations, you're the winner. If not, the top two candidates, regardless of party, move on to a runoff, which will happen December 6th. Yes, we already know what the overtime dates are in this election cycle, and one is in January, which is just mean, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
To people like me,
all of us,
it's just mean. So her leading opponent is Congressman Bill Cassidy. He is conservative. The Tea Party doesn't love him. They might not hate him either. There are two other Republicans running. What has to happen? Louisiana's become a lot more Republican since Landrieu was last on the ballot. And so it helps if she can make this race about her, really, about her and about Louisiana and what she's done for Louisiana. If this becomes a nationalized Democrat versus Republican race, then she's got more of a problem. The more interesting thing will be if it goes to a runoff and the majority's at stake in that runoff. Then, God help us all.
So she's got to.
You think $12 million in a House special election was a lot of money?
Yeah.
You have no idea.
Whoa. North Carolina.
Yep.
Kay Hagan, strong.
Here's Kay Hagan's got a couple of problems. One, she's not very well known and she's not very well defined. When she won this seat in 2008, I'm not sure she won it as much as Elizabeth Dole lost it. And Democrats had a really good ground game. And obviously Obama carried North Carolina that year. So she isn't, voters don't have a sense of who she is. Unfortunately for Hagan, what has defined her in the last 6 months is healthcare reform. Americans for Prosperity has spent millions on the air linking her to healthcare reform. So she's got a lot of work to do. Republicans do have a primary. I would say that the leading candidate right now is the Speaker of the House, Thom Tillis, but he is getting, he's getting a challenge from a newcomer, a physician named Greg Brannon, who has some Tea Party backing. There's another candidate in the race. He's a Baptist minister. His name is Mark Harris. He's got some Tea Party / social conservative backing. So they're split. North Carolina is a runoff state. Somebody's got to get 40% to avoid one. I think that Republicans have a problem if they have a runoff between a Tea Party candidate and Tillis. I mean, I have no doubt Tillis will make the runoff. And obviously Tillis is working to avoid that runoff.
Now, how big a factor is Scott Brown in New Hampshire? You said it's from likely Democrat to lean Democrat or whatever the categories are.
Right.
So Scott Brown has moved the needle a little bit. But,
he's moved the needle a little bit. It was not going to be earth-shattering.
It's everybody understands. He moved from Massachusetts to New Hampshire. He's a carpetbagger. Is this?
Yeah, but it's also a little bit like moving from Virginia to Maryland. I have a number of politically active friends in New Hampshire. Most of them are Democrats, and I put this question to him, and their response was uniformly the same. Oh, Scott Brown has had a house on the seacoast forever. He spends summers here. They shrug. Now, as Democrats, it doesn't make them want to vote for him, but they're not holding it against him as a big issue. So I'm not sure it's going to get a lot of attention. But I'm not sure it's going to be a, quote, voting
somebody who's
issue.
certainly known in New Hampshire is Jean Shaheen, former governor
Absolutely.
and senator.
And she, and she has been in politics for a long time. She is pretty scrappy. She's got a good political organization. She can raise a lot of money. I think what we were saying with this rating change is that this is now a competitive race. Let's see where it goes. It could not move from this category for the rest of the cycle, and she could be sitting on a lead of 5 to 10 points. Or, New Hampshire is a very interesting state politically, and forget presidential stuff. Let's just take that off the map. Do you realize that at least one of its House seats, right, the seat that Carol Shea Porter currently holds, has switched in the last 3 elections? The control of the legislature has switched in the last 3 elections. They elect their legislators every 2 years. This is really a swing state. Voters go back and forth. And so what kind of mood are they in? We know that both members of Congress, again, Carol Shea Porter and Ann McLean Custer, are in trouble. They're on our toss-up list. And the state House, which Democrats currently control, is in play again.
Gee, so anything could happen.
Anything could happen.
Wow. All right. The source for what's happening in these Senate races around the country, right here with us in the studio this morning, Jennifer Duffy from the Cook Political Report. You want a chance to get a question in about a Senate race in your state that you care about, or another state you care about, 866-55-PRESS. I want to talk more about Kentucky, which, as you said, may be the most watched race of all when we come back here with Jennifer Duffy. Let's take a quick break. Back on the other side.
This is the Bill Press Show.
For more than 18 months, the members of AFSCME 3299 have been working to secure a new contract with the University of California. With workplace injuries at UC skyrocketing and government fines related to safety deficiencies at UC hospitals skyrocketing, Local 3299's top priority has been safe staffing at the workplace.
We've been short of people for the last 5 years.
They're stretching us thin, which the students are suffering, the faculty suffering, and the patients are suffering.
While UC administrators have granted these standards to other UC workers, they have refused to make similar accommodations for AFSCME represented workers who perform the most physically demanding labor at UC.
It takes a whole team to take care of the patient. It's not just the RN and it's not just the doctor. The nurses were able to win a great contract, and AFSCME workers, the patient care workers and service workers, they're part of the team and they deserve that same fair contract too.
We take pride into working for the university, and we feel like the university doesn't value the work that we do.
But the second-class treatment of AFSCME workers doesn't end at safety and staffing. On wages, benefits, and other issues, UC refuses to offer AFSCME 3299 members the same respect they afford their other workers.
I have 3 jobs because what the university pays me is just not enough to make a living for my family and myself.
99% of service workers in the UC system make so little money that they're eligible for at least some form of public assistance. At the same time, the number of executives in the UC system that have crossed over into making at least $250,000 a year has more than doubled since 2008.
The University of California has long been a beacon of hope and progress for those struggling for dignity and fairness. With such a proud history, it is disturbing to see the leadership of the university treat its lowest paid workers like second-class citizens.
All workers at the university deserve equal treatment.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Here we go, 11 minutes before the top of the hour with Jennifer Duffy from the Cook Politico Report and the latest on the important Senate races, 36 of them up this year around the country. Jennifer, you mentioned Kentucky is the one that we hear perhaps the most about because of Mitch McConnell being who he is. Allison Grimes, Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell wins the primary, you think?
Mitch McConnell wins the primary. Okay. He has done a masterful job of boxing his opponent, Matt Bevin, political newcomer, businessman, into a corner. I mean, it is a good textbook case about newcomers running and what they don't expect and the mistakes they made and McConnell's advantage to leverage those mistakes.
But Allison Grimes seems to be giving him a good run for his money.
She is. Huh? There is, I have not seen a poll that has this race outside the margin of error.
Whoa. So what's your rating on it now?
Toss-up. It is a toss-up. I mean, you can't get much closer than within the margin of error.
Right.
And it is going to be, once this primary is over, because obviously McConnell himself can't spend too much time focusing on her, although the campaign will and has. This is just going to be a long, long road. You're going to see a lot of money spent on TV, on the ground. There are already super PACs up and running. The super PACs that supports McConnell, Kentuckians for Strong Leadership, has already spent about $1.5 million. A lot of it has been against Bevin, but a lot of it has helped McConnell. I mean, it is just going to be epic.
Right. We haven't talked yet about Colorado, but here is Mark calling from out in Denver. Hey, Mark, good morning.
Hi, good morning to you guys. I wonder what you had for the Colorado race. The Tea Party darling, who's a multiple-time loser, has dropped out in favor of one of the new GOP sweethearts from the Congress district jumped in there. What do you see here?
Well, okay, but first I'm just going to check, Mark, and make sure your last name isn't Udall, right? Who is the incumbent that's up?
No, this is not Mark Udall.
Just wanted to make sure that, that is an interesting race. And it says a lot about the environment here, too. Cory Gardner, Republican congressman, he is in his second term, elected in 2010, actually declined to run last year. He didn't think it was an especially winnable race. Republicans showed him some polling taken earlier this year, and it was a very different set of numbers, very different environment. He reversed himself. He got in the race on March 1, and we have moved that to a lean Democratic rating from likely. It's going to be a great race. Gardner is a strong candidate. You have to give Udall a bit of an edge. It is still Colorado. I think that there are, he's got some issues to deal with. Energy is going to be a big issue in Colorado. He hasn't been a real advocate of the XL pipeline, whereas his colleague Senator Bennett has. Gardner certainly has. And it will be hard for Democrats to demonize Gardner on this issue because there's a lot of energy in his district, wind, solar. So he isn't, quote, a captive of big oil. Democrats will paint Gardner, though, as far too conservative for the state. They will pluck every conservative vote he has cast, and there have been many. So this is going to be a good race. It could end up in the toss-up column. It's just not there now.
All right. And don't forget the potheads are voting this year for the first time. So,
well, actually, now that it's legal, maybe they forgot.
Could be too. Oh, wow. But the big news out of Jennifer Duffy this morning is Louisiana, North Carolina, and Alaska all moved to now toss-up races. Boy, this is a big challenge for both parties. And overall, according to Cook Political Report, control of the Senate is a jump ball. Jennifer, thanks so much for good information this morning.
Thank you.
And thanks for coming in.
Always a pleasure.
I'll be back with a quick parting shot.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey friends, do you realize that heart disease kills more Americans every year than all forms of cancer combined? So when you donate to the American Heart Association, you're contributing to life-saving research with every dollar. You can make your donation today through the Pop Money personal payment service. All you do is download the app or go online to popmoney.com. Sign up to send your donation to jessica.gramillion@heart.org. jessica.gramillion@heart.org. Here's the best part. The 95-cent fee is assessed to you, the sender, regardless of how much money you contribute. That means that 100% of your donation goes to support the ongoing research to help save lives across America. No fees are paid by the American Heart Association, getting more bang for your buck. And of course, terms and conditions apply.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
The Parting Shot with Bill Press. This is the Bill Press Show.
Well, we know now that Crimea is officially part of Russia, and I also know we're supposed to be outraged about it. But you know what? I'm not really, and I'll tell you why, for three reasons. First of all, because historically, Crimea has always been part of Russia, only for the last 20 years, part of Ukraine. Second, as far as the United States is concerned, I don't know. What difference does it make to us if it's part of Russia or Poland or Japan? Doesn't make any difference here. And third, the only possible way to get Crimea back out of Russia's hands would be to send in the United States Army, a military war against Russia. Forget about it. There's no appetite for it after Iraq and Afghanistan, and we can't afford it. So I think the bottom line is, yes, Vladimir Putin did wrong, but it's a wrong we are just going to have to learn to live with. My parting shot for today. Have a great day, folks. We'll see you back here again
This is the
tomorrow
Bill
morning.
Press Show.